I'm Matt Bear, traffic on the 5s at WIBC Traffic.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-883-3024. 800-883-3024. 800-883-3024. That's 800-883-3024.
Trust employee owned. B Windows extending our employee discount to you. Up to 55% off, plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. Trust your home to B.
Now the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
The heat advisory remains in effect until Friday evening. Mostly sunny with a few spotty storms this afternoon, a high of 92. Tonight, scattered storms early, partly cloudy overnight, lows into the mid-70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8's Marcus Bailey, 93 WIBC.
And I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level on the go and on WIBC.com. Kendall Casey starts now.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
The self-indulgence of these politicians is killing our society. I think that's the theme for today's program. It is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's here. Casey, if you'll just allow me just a moment before we get today's show off the air, I'd just like to just make a few editorial comments.
You got something to say?
Well, we're going to be talking a lot about, as we normally do, these local politicians, both local in the sense of the city of Indianapolis and state officials today. And one of the things that is becoming abundantly clear, and you're going to hear this as a thread throughout this show today on people that we talk about and discuss, is how these people who you elect, who you either send to City Hall or to the State House to fight on your behalf, to be your voice,
Your representative,
keep putting themselves and their own power and their own importance not just a little ahead of you, way ahead of you. Nobody that we're going to talk about today, because part of to be a fighter, when you look back to the foundation of this country, the reason the country became what it became was that the people who put it together had it in their DNA, in what God created them with, to put others and what was right ahead of themselves. And they were willing to do everything up to and including die for other people.
they didn't even want to do it, but they felt obligated to.
And our system was set up around these same people believing, foolishly now in hindsight, that everybody who would come after them would understand what they did, and those would be the people that would represent our society going forward. And sadly, there's almost none of those people left. People with it in their core of the willingness to fight for other people, to take on the power structure, to stand up and say, I don't care if this harms me professionally or personally, I will give it all for the people that I represent. And that's going to be the thread of the show today on the people that we talk about, that they are cowards, that they are liars, that they are backstabbers, that they are people who are only there for themselves. Sure, they'll tell you. They're good at speeches oftentimes. They'll tell you what they're supposedly for, but their actions do not match the words that are coming out of their mouth.
Yeah, many times duty has been exchanged for what's in it for me.
And I want to start with the city of Indianapolis. And don't worry, we got plenty of state people to get to. But I want to start with the city of Indianapolis. And I want to start with the Republican leader on the Indianapolis City County Council, the High Loon, as we've dubbed him, because there's only 6 of them. The Marion County Republican Party has become such a pathetic joke And they have given people so little to believe in. They have resonated so little with voters that there's 6 out of 25 of them are Republicans.
Yeah.
They've given away the Marion County Republican Party because they refuse to stand for anything and they refuse to fight and give people something to believe in, have given away the city of Indianapolis. And the leader right now, the face of this, is this guy, Michael Paul Hart. Now, Michael Paul Hart, many of you who are fans of this show will know, we've had a bit of a public back and forth with him, which he instigated, by the way. We didn't start it. Did we send that email initially?
No.
No. He sent this email to us like some sort of cross between a Dickens novel and a Kaczynski manifesto about how, oh, you guys, we're not being silent. We're speaking up. We're standing up. Everybody knows we're talking about calling for the mayor's resignation.
Right.
Joe Hogsett, who is a personal and professional dumpster fire, a guy who for 10 years has run this city into the ground, has taken this once beacon of opportunity and optimism, and he has flushed it right down the toilet. Every facet of the city is in shambles under his leadership. And simply having a press conference, not good enough.
Calling for more transparency and oversight.
Not good enough.
What more do you need to see or know?
Exactly. So we had a rather spirited back and forth with Michael Paul Hart, and we had thought we'd come to some sort of agreement that he was coming on our show July the 2nd because he said that was his first availability to meet with us in person. Now everybody knows, because clearly listens to this show based on he knows what we're talking about, because he was talking about what we were talking about. We have guests on the phone all the time. We have guests in person. You know, we don't care. So we assumed when he said my first availability to see you in person was like his first availability would be July the 2nd, which we said, okay, we accept.
Right.
Well, I'm driving in this morning.
Who do you hear?
And amazement to my ears, I hear him on Tony Katz.
He became available, apparently.
Now, this is probably just a giant coincidence, but this is the third person that I can think of in the past 3 months that we've had a rather high-profile public spat with on the internet. And magically, they've ended up on Tony's show. Probably just a coincidence. But I'm actually glad that Michael Paul Hart ran to Tony's show instead of coming to us, like manning up and coming to us like he said he was going to do first, because he's now saved our listeners from what would have probably been 10 or 15 minutes of pure
non-answers,
unadulterated torture. And I'm going to play you one 30-second clip. And by the way, this is the first time that I think I've ever done this in 20-plus years. I've canceled an interview.
Yeah.
And we will play you. I'm going to play a little clip of this back and forth with Tony. And then I will read you the email that I sent to Michael Paul Hart, because I would not dare, after hearing this interview with Tony, ever subject our audience to this guy again. Because this was pathetic. The non-answers, the deflection, the refusal to give any sort of clarity on anything. I mean, there is no spine in this guy and these Republicans in this city. There's no spine whatsoever. Here, Tony asks him directly, are you refusing to call for the mayor's resignation because you're worried how it's going to affect your bringing stuff to your district? Here's the answer.
Counselor, I'm going to interrupt you, and forgive me for that. Are you making the argument that you have not called for Joe Hogsett's resignation because if you do, you can't get these things done for your district, that it's political, that you aren't calling for his resignation?
I have a strong feeling that if I call for resignation, I will be less effective as a counselor in my district. And I've got a lot of people that are depending on me to make sure that I bring economic involvement back to the east side of Indianapolis, and I have to work with the mayor's office to get that done.
So he's admitted right there.
He just admitted that Hogsett is the strong man, right?
He's Vito Corleone. We are now run by the mafia.
Right.
Michael Paul Hart just admitted right there, this city is run by the mob. Joe Hogsett is Don Corleone, and you end up sleeping with the fishes if you cross the guy. And Michael Paul Hart is admitting on the most powerful media outlet in the state that he is too gutless and too cowardly to stand and say, okay, so what, I don't get a park upgrade this year? Yeah, your behavior is totally unacceptable, Drinky McGee. You disappearing during the riots, we all know where you were, totally unacceptable. You not addressing crime in this city, totally unacceptable. Your personal life dumpster fire, where you disappear for periods of time, unacceptable. Your what appear to be drunk college boy text messages with subordinates half your age, totally unacceptable. Your covering up You notice nobody ever disputes what the allegations of those women against Thomas Carl Cook and how he used his position of power to force them into uncomfortable sexual positions. Through all these reports, all the testimony, all the everything, not one person has stood up and said that didn't happen. And also, not one person has stood up and refuted Joe Hogshead's involvement in covering it up. And what Michael Paul Hart said today to the city of Indianapolis was getting some sidewalk repair or road project is more important than looking human trash in the eye and saying, no more.
What I heard from his answer, if I say something, if I call for the resignation of Hogsett, things might change. And I'm happy with the way they currently are.
Yeah, and don't forget, Michael Paul Hart works for a company, he's confirmed it, that has a multi-million-dollar contract with the city of Indianapolis. This is why our society is going down the drain. Because people in positions of power who we depend on to stand up and fight for us are more concerned about holding on to their jobs, holding on to their titles, holding on to some sort of meaningless pet local project. We have evil, rotten, disgusting people running our society. And no one, and we'll talk about a boatload of them today, at the state level or the local level or certainly the federal level, is willing to stand up and say, this stops now. All right, do you want me to read my email I sent to Michael Paul Hart?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, I said, and this was, I sent this morning, like 8:13. Very good. All right. I said, hello, Michael. In light of your appearance with Tony this morning, we're going to go ahead and cancel your interview for July 2nd. We were under the impression July 2nd was your first availability. The WIBC audience has already heard all you had to say. It would be repetitive. Certainly a week from now. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm not subjecting our audience to that ever again. And maybe Tony deserves some sort of medal for willing to do it. Now, I think it says a lot about Michael Paul Hart that he knew he'd scheduled that interview with us.
Tony must have gone through the booking link.
All right, so now let's take a break. When we come back, a Democrat on the Indianapolis City County Council saw Michael Paul Hart's cowardly, disgusting behavior and said, hold my beer.
You're listening to Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Look at how he just broke it further than it was already broken. Why would you think he's going to fix anything?
You had the chance.
You know you need to listen to? Us. We're the ones who are right. We're the ones who will tell you how it is. We're the ones who always stand up and own it. You need to listen to us. Stop listening to these politicians. They are to blame.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Summer is here and it's time to think about cleaning your carpets, but don't even think about renting one of those DIY units at the grocery store. Hi, this is Denny Smith for Zero Res, and right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at just $129 and $75 off air duct cleaning. That's the perfect way to refresh your home. Vacuuming is not sufficient to maintain the cleanliness and lifespan of your carpet. And please don't do it yourself with DIY, dirt-attracting, carpet-soaking machines. With those machines, there's no possible way to extract all of that dirty water out of the carpet, and it'll probably leave a nice layer of mud under the carpet. At Zero Res, there's a reason they have 4,900 plus 5-star Google reviews. So just call Zero Res with their patented ZR water that cleans with no soaps, no residue, and no harsh chemicals. Just fresher carpets and cleaner air for your family. Call now, mention WIBC, get 3 rooms cleaned starting at just $129 plus $75 off the air duct cleaning. 317-388-5141 or ZeroResIndy.com.
Looking for a cozy spot to relax, work, or grab your coffee to go? LC Coffee House in Noblesville, Indiana has you covered. Try our indulgent affogato, a sweet blend of espresso and ice cream. Or sample our coffee flights to discover your perfect brew. In a rush, our drive-thru is ready to serve you fast and fresh. Need a space to collaborate? We offer meeting rooms perfect for co-working. Whether you're grabbing a quick drink or spending the day with us, LC Coffee House is the place to be.
Big Joe here for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, B&W HVAC Plumbing and Electrical.
If your air conditioner is barely hanging on, don't wait for it to fail in a heat wave.
Upgrade now with a new energy-efficient system from B&W. Join thousands of Hoosiers who trust us to keep their families cool and comfortable. Get a free estimate today at bplusw.com or call 317-214-0108. B&W HVAC Plumbing and Electrical, your American Standard dealer since 1961.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Summertime's here, so get a hot summertime deal at Tom Roush Lincoln. Get Lincoln's employee pricing on most all new Lincolns. Get up to $20,000 off select 2024 Navigators. Up to $8,000 off select 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Come and see why the Roush family has served the community for over 53 years at Tom Roush Lincoln.
Navigator MSRP 105-195. Nautilus MSRP 60-195. 2025 Navigators excluded from employee pricing. Subject to credit approval. See dealer for complete offer details.
At Advent, nasal congestion and sinus infections can be solved with an in-office 20-minute procedure. Elsewhere, expect surgery.
AdventNose.com.
Low music, please.
No Cupid, no Cupid.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is our bumper music.
This is Hogshead at dancing badly at the Juneteenth celebration, isn't it?
It is. Think he had a drink or two while he was doing this?
So there's some video. I thought this was a year ago or so.
It could have been. It doesn't matter.
It's Joe Hogshead at some Juneteenth celebration, dancing like Elaine Bennis while being egged on by some sort of DJ.
Yeah.
And
the people there feel like it's a flex that he showed up.
All right, so it's Kendall Casey Show. I'm Rob. That's Casey. Our, sort of our thread of the show today is the cowardly behavior and the self-indulgence of these politicians, and how there's basically nobody there fighting for you, and how these people are putting themselves and their own positions of relevance, paychecks, etc., above you at a local level. It's happening at a state level, and we're focusing right now on the city of Indianapolis because that's the big news right in front of us. So last segment, we talked about the disgustingly cowardly behavior, the disgusting cowardly behavior of Michael Paul Hart, the head Republican. Now let's talk about Krista Carlino, the Democrat. So she was the woman who yesterday, we're feeling sympathetic for her. She's the Democrat who was basically overseeing that investigation into Hogshead and Thomas Carl Cook. She calls for Hogsett's resignation. She called for Vop Osili and Allie Brown, the heads of the city council, to step down. And then we find out this poor woman gets kicked out of the Democrat caucus for simply saying the obvious, which is Joe Hogshead is a complete dumpster fire. He's run the city into the ground. He got to go.
But did she get kicked out? Who knows? The story keeps changing.
Well, like I said, so everybody's feeling bad for her. Everybody's like, hey, look at this woman. She's just simply said the truth, and she's kicked out. And then she comes out with this bizarro
3-page apology.
It read like some person who was in a hostage situation.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like apologizing. She's saying she's sorry. She's taking it back.
Let me read one sentence to you. I apologize for the extreme accountability I called for in such a public way. I apologize for the extreme accountability I called for in such a public way.
So you're an elected official. Your job is to represent the taxpayers, which means hold yourself and other elected officials accountable and ensure that they are behaving and spending money and using resources in a way that is responsible for the people who pay the tab. You have the mayor who has serious substance issues, is a personal train wreck, is behaving inappropriate with subordinates, is running the city, I mean, in just a disgustingly bad fashion, is clearly covered up grossly inappropriate behavior from his number 2 guy, disappeared during the riots, the streets are in shambles, all of this. And you said, hey, this guy's got to go. And how did she describe her? How did she describe it?
I apologize for the extreme accountability I called for in such a public way.
And you're sorry you did that. Then, after because yesterday, it wasn't just Abdul, it was multiple media outlets in the city who are not connected to each other, citing different sources, said, hey, she'd been kicked out of that caucus. Then the Democrats come out with this bizarre, and by the way, depending on who you talk to, the statement was conflicting. No. She's not kicked out of the caucus. She's still in the caucus. And everybody's looking at each other going, all these media people who are part of this going, no, we all talked to separate people, and Abdul told us this morning, I talked to 3 separate people who were there and said she was kicked out.
Right.
And I'm looking around going, this has become Soviet Union under Stalin. Where no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it did. No.
You're kicked out unless you apologize.
Yeah, I mean, where they would send, some guy who says something against the party to Siberia. Where's Fred? Who? No, Fred didn't exist. And then Fred's a great patriot. He's a great member of the community, but I thought Fred disappeared. No, Fred was always here. But Fred was cut out of photos. No, that didn't happen. What is happening?
She also said, I deeply apologize to my fellow counselors in the Democratic caucus for taking steps outside of our members without their knowledge, and for any undue stress and disappointment my actions caused them.
What about the undue stress on Lauren Roberts? What about the undue stress on the taxpayers? What about the undue stress on the city of Indianapolis that has been flushed down the toilet under Joe Hogsett? She doesn't give a damn about any of that. She's more concerned about her friends on the city council and what sort of bad publicity they had to endure because they won't stand up for what's right.
She apologizes for taking steps outside of their members without their knowledge. You're not allowed to have independent thought, apparently.
It is, and I'm not trying to be over the top when I say this. So I'm going to say it calmly, even though I am just, as you can clearly tell this morning, I am enraged, and there's many, many things and many, many people we're going to talk about at length today. But I'm going to say this calmly. Our city is just a mafia operation at this point. I mean, that is the only logical explanation that Joe Hogsett has so much leverage and has so much dirt on these people that they are petrified. Even when the public is... This woman got a standing ovation when she called for his resignation. The people of this city know what Joe Hogsett is. They know what he's done. And yet, both sides of the aisle are scared to death to even say the obvious, which this person has to go. Joe Hogsett is the what they call him in the Godfather, the Black Hand. Joe Hogsett is Don Corleone. I am at a loss for words.
Well,
over
she stood
this.
up. She said what she thought was right, and they punished her for it. And through some manipulation, she came back and apologized, and then went on to say it's her hope and intention to move forward as a member of the Democratic caucus and fulfill my duty and oath.
This is complete 1984 stuff. It's very rare. I'm trying to find the words to describe what is taking place right now. If you live in the city of Indianapolis, you need to run. You need to flee. You need to get out of here. Sell your house as quick as you can. Call Mark Deedle, sell your house, and get out of here as fast as you can.
I want to read.
And that means you, Casey. I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you. You have to get out of this place.
I want to read one more thing from her apology. She says that she's deeply sorry for the distractions and disruptions my actions surrounding this work have caused.
Her actions?
They made her feel like she was the problem for saying Hogsett had to resign. Are you kidding?
And think about this. No one disputes the women's allegations. There's not been one person in any report or testimony stand up and say, these women are lying. Here's evidence to the contrary. Thomas Carl Cook didn't do these things. Everybody at this point, I think, kind of agrees. The guy did it. There's been no defense offered. And yet, the accountability for this woman, Krista Carlino, is far greater than any accountability for Thomas Carl Cook, who did the thing, or Joe Hogsett, who covered it up.
It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC.
Okay, when we come back, we've got to talk about how much money, speaking of big fat phonies, we got to talk about how much money Todd Rokita's cost the taxpayers because he can't keep his yapper shut.
Real stories with Hellsberg.
After we met and we started dating, Nancy and I lived 150 miles apart, and I would drive my old jalopy car, and it was roughly a 3-hour distance. It took 3 years I drove across that state back and forth dating her every weekend.
Persistence.
And I would have never stopped. I had a lot of energy back then, 36 years ago.
At Hellsberg, find the engagement ring worthy of your story. Designed with the love, care, and craft it deserves. Visit a Hellsberg store or hellsberg.com.
It takes everyone in the community working together to create a brighter future. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Visit liveunited.org to learn how you can help.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Seeking congressional approval first. It's sunny and 82 in downtown Indianapolis. Your high today, 92. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 9:30. The Senate is expected to vote this week on whether to require the Trump administration to seek approval from Congress first before any future strikes against Iran. Some lawmakers are criticizing President Donald Trump for not doing so before recent strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. Texas Republican Representative Lance Gooden, however, defended the president while on Fox and Friends First.
Democrats are disgraceful in the way that they have ignored the Constitution over the last 5 years. They had no problem with an open border. They had no problem with anything Joe Biden did. And when Donald Trump comes and brings peace to the Middle East, suddenly they're outraged.
Some Republican lawmakers like Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene have also claimed the president is violating his campaign promise of keeping the U.S. out of foreign wars. Congressional Republicans say a top Biden White House aide is refusing to talk about the former president.
Anthony Bernal, who served as a senior advisor to former First Lady Jill Biden, coming under fire from top Republicans for refusing to appear before the House Oversight Committee to be questioned about an alleged cover-up of former President Joe Biden's mental decline. This after the Trump administration waived his ability to invoke executive privilege to protect private conversations. Committee Chair James Comer, who says he intends to subpoena Bernal, accuses him of running scared, desperate to bury the truth now that he has no privilege left to hide behind.
Fox's Lillian Wu reporting. And astronomers say they've discovered the largest comet ever flying through space. It's 85 feet wide and was located near Neptune using a telescope in Chile. The National Radio Astronomy Observatory says the comet is at least 10 times the size of any other known comet. And now your opening bell report on 93 WIBC, brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management. All the major markets in the green. The Dow is up 100 points to 42,982. The S&P 500 also up 18 points to 6,092. And the NASDAQ in the green, 92 points. It's up 22,237. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
You were blessed to have a home large enough to raise a family. But now the kids have been on their own for a while, and the house seems a little different. All those rooms are a bit too much to manage. Simple just seems better. Simple Quarters is a company that understands, and they can help you trade in your house for one that's a better fit for this point in your life. A lot of folks don't realize you can trade in your house like you can trade in your car. Simple Quarters will buy your house and help you transition into a new one all at the same time. No double mortgages or months of showing and stress. They streamline the process. Or they'll simply buy your house as is, and you can take the next steps on your own. Simple Quarters is a Christian company committed to making your real estate transitions easier. If you're considering downsizing, Simple Quarters offers both as-is home purchases and a convenient home trade-in option. Call Simple Quarters at 317-900-HOME. That's 317-900-HOME.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in Indiana because energy tax credits put America first, bringing manufacturing jobs home and creating a stronger middle class.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. Senator Young, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits. Paid for by Built for America.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Oh my gosh. Todd Rokita being a complete buffoon has cost the taxpayers so much money. This is unbelievable. Before we get to that, though, if you might indulge me, I'm on a heater today, Case. You know,
let it fly.
There are just some days you just throw that template out the window, and Uncle Rob's just going to cook.
Today's one of those days.
And I think you knew coming in today was
Well,
going to be
be
one of those days.
Yeah. Based on the stories that were popping up.
Well, so we're about to talk about Todd Rokita and how his, again, self-indulgence and his putting himself and his desire to see himself on television, how much that's hurt you as a taxpayer here in just a minute. But whether it's the city council or these state guys we're about to talk about, one of the things the public needs to realize is they behave the way they do because they don't fear repercussion. Mm-hmm. It's really no different than raising kids. Well-behaved kids fear discipline.
Consequences.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, my parents never struck me. Never spanked, never anything. I feared my father beyond words, though. And that was enough.
Keep you in line.
To make me a law-abiding member of society. Mm-hmm. And adults are just large children, right? I mean, truly.
Especially our politicians.
Yeah, you do, society does. Why are there laws? To prevent you from doing things. And these politicians have recognized that really, no matter what I do, some guy blew a .283, Casey.
I was just thinking the same exact thing. Look at Bohachik.
And they covered it up for 4.5, 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
He's still driving. What, is he going to get some probation? Ooh, don't go at him too hard. No punishment. Bo Baird covered up a OWI for, 7 years? They were taking that story down when people were talking about it off the Putnam County chatter boards, right? The Bo Baird OWI that we uncovered. Nobody said anything to him. Nobody's reprimanded him. No state leaders have stepped up. It wasn't like he was kicked off anything. What happened to Lucas? He got $50,000 for his reelection, and they saved him and supported him. You look at Joe Hogsett, disappears during the riots. Everybody knows where he was. Nothing happens. He gets reelected.
Re-election.
Thomas Carl Cook is allegedly just short of, some heinous, whatever, and he just disappears. Not only did he disappear, before that he got a cushy job at a law firm. Right. No ramifications for him. Look at what we've provided with the Secretary of State. Disappearing to a foreign country, hanging out with the venture capitalist, and a guy selling EB-5 visas won't, at least to this point, still hasn't provided proof of who paid for the trip or that he paid the money back. Now, maybe he will. Now, I know the Inspector General said they're looking into it, but that's it. Is the governor calling for state police to investigate?
No.
I mean, they could solve that like that. They have the power to do that. They could put all of that to rest. Has Todd Rokita? No. Whether Rokita can technically investigate him or not, certainly could call for it to say, we'll assist, we're urging the governor. No. He gives Diego $5,000 and endorses him. Theoretically, I guess the U.S. Attorney's Office could look into it. These people. The point is, the politicians are laughing at us because we come on here and we bitch and we complain. We got a lot of listeners, but we don't have the power to do anything about it. And these people have no shame. You can't shame them into being good, decent members of society and actually working for you. So what you have is a bunch of self-absorbed people who are there for their own power and benefit, who have utilized the system to put themselves in positions of power and dominance over everybody else, and they know there's no check and balance. They fear nothing. That's why they behave the way they do, because they fear nothing, because they're almost never held to account.
And getting paid a handsome salary while they do it.
Absolutely. Oh, no, totally. That's what it's the career grift. They either use the position for the next position. It's the career grift. They either use the position for the next position, or they use the position to get a cushy position outside of the government. That's the overwhelming majority of these people. Look at how they move. They move from one government position to the next, or they move from one government position to a law firm or a lobbying firm, or look at where these people go and what they do. And they're quite successful at it. Okay, so let's talk about how much this bozo Rokita, because he is right at the top of the list of people who are just complete big fat phonies in terms of the words that come out of their mouth versus their actual actions. So Todd Rokita, for those of you who don't know, has been under constant, I don't know if investigation is the right word, with the Indiana Disciplinary Commission, scrutiny, whatever.
Right.
Lawyers are held to, you'll laugh when I say this, lawyers are supposed to be held to a higher standard than regular people, which means just like joining any other club. So, for example, and I know we've used this before, you and I, we still have a First Amendment right, but we have desired to have a career in broadcasting.
Correct.
Which means we are governed by the Federal Communications Commission.
That's
which
right.
means there's a whole bunch of words that I'd like to say that I simply cannot say.
If you want to keep broadcasting,
That's correct.
You can't.
I have a First Amendment right. Now, if I walk down to that sidewalk on Monument Circle,
You can say it all you want.
can't say it here.
Right.
And attorneys have rules and regulations that if you want to be an attorney, you have to abide by, which means your First Amendment privileges, just like with us, are curtailed because you want to be in a club. And Todd Rokita can't get it through that big, thick baby brain of his that your First Amendment rights are curtailed by being an attorney, which you have to be Attorney General. So Todd Rokita, during the whole abortion debate in Indiana, found out that there was this abortion doctor who seemed to be quite proud of the abortion she was doing and publicly talking about it. But instead of recognizing as the Attorney General and a lawyer, I'm held to a higher standard on how I have to deal with this person, because there are ways to deal with those people. And ultimately, this woman was dealt with, not as successfully as she'd have been dealt with if Rokita just kept his yapper shut. But there are ways we deal with this through the licensing boards, et cetera. Rokita sprints to Fox News, says a whole bunch of inappropriate things. Not that he's wrong about anything he said, but inappropriate based on his position, which as a lawyer and the chief law enforcement officer for the state, he should know. And almost immediately then, people begin going to this board that oversees attorneys and says, the disciplinary commission, and says he's behaved inappropriately, we would like action. So the board looks, they take him, they come up with I don't know if plea bargain's the right word. It's not criminal, but they come up with an agreement. They say, you behaved inappropriately. Rokita says, yes, I behaved inappropriately. I could not defend this if it were put in front of the state Supreme Court, who oversees this body. And so for this low-level slap on the wrist, I will accept that I behaved inappropriately. Well, then almost as soon as the ink is dried, he runs out and was like, I didn't behave inappropriately. I just did this to save the taxpayers a bunch of money.
I didn't mean any of that.
And so people are like, okay, well, under oath, you said you did it. Under penalty of perjury or whatever, so you said you did it. Now you're coming and you say you didn't do it. These statements are in conflict with each other, which means you're not telling the truth somewhere. So we're going to put you back in front of this commission. And now the Capitol Chronicle has come up with how much money it has cost us, the taxpayers, with attorneys to defend this guy, all because he did it to himself. He can't keep his big yapper shut, because a lot of this is related directly to that.
So how much have Indiana taxpayers footed? $491,000 in public funds. This is going from 22 through 25 to defend him in 6 disciplinary investigations. Now think about this for just a second. Indiana taxpayers just dropped nearly $500,000 to defend Todd Rokita's law license. Not his job, not the state, his license.
Yes, and he did it to himself. The overwhelming majority of this is related to him not keeping his yapper shut. It's not most of the stuff he did in a court of law or whatever. It's related to him playing politics over the position he was elected to serve. And what have I said? Well, you haven't been here the whole time that he's been Attorney General. But from the moment he was running, I said he is the worst guy for that position, because the Attorney General should not be political. Your job is to enforce the laws and the Constitution of the state. And if you want to be a politician, go run for Senate again, Rokita. Run for House again. Run for governor. All of those things, he could have gone on Fox News and said what he said and been fine. But there are rules for clubs you want to join. And his defense on all this is, well, they're curtailing my First Amendment rights. No, they're not. You wanted to be an attorney. You wanted to be attorney general, just like we wanted to be broadcasters.
Can you imagine if you say one of the dirty words that you're not allowed to say as a broadcaster and it cost Urban One $491,000? They would probably say, you know what, Rob, thank you for your service, but we're going to uninvite you. We no longer want you to be here. Your PETA level is way too high. That's what Todd Rokita has done to taxpayers in Indiana. For any other employee, you were footing the legal bill on this, you'd probably be out of a job. But with this guy, we get to keep him.
And because Rokita will not come on the show, we're the one show he will not come on because, well, anyway. This is not shock jock stuff. This is not gotcha journalism. The facts are very clear. He has cost you, the taxpayers, almost $500,000 because he put himself and his desire to be in the limelight and his desire to be on television. And by the way, that abortion doctor, she probably got less of a punishment because of the high-profile nature of the case, which got all the attention because Rokita was under the scrutiny for going on Fox News. If the goal was to get the abortion doctor, who I agreed with the stuff Rokita said, and he could have got a much better result and probably more discipline for her if he hadn't gone on television and ran his trap. But he wanted to be seen. He wanted to be heard. He wanted to elevate himself on a national level, and he has ended up costing you a whole bunch of money.
There is a current disciplinary case that's pending before the Indiana Supreme Court.
Yes, related to the thing about him being like, I didn't do anything wrong, after he said he'd done something
so
wrong.
So the tab it's still going.
And hopefully, because you cannot be attorney general without a law license, because last time for this slap on the wrist, the Supreme Court, it was 3-2. They clearly wanted two of the justices knew what a blowhard this guy was, knew he wouldn't learn anything, knew that he would be right back here doing this. Hopefully the next time. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say there's 4 possible outcomes with this.
Yes.
A reprimand, a temporary suspension, indefinite suspension with conditions, or permanent disbarment.
Well, hopefully the Supreme Court has learned, the 3 who gave him the benefit of the doubt have learned their lesson from this. Hopefully they will do the right thing and yank this guy's law license because he has no business being the attorney general. By the way, Rokita was at that Clay County Lincoln Day dinner, and he walked right past me on multiple occasions.
Were you expecting a hug?
He's such a hard
Not
ass
after
with
this
everybody
segment.
else. He's had multiple occasions to have it out with me in person, and he don't want to do it. All right, what are we doing next? What's going on?
Well, we can talk about the LG or the Simpsons. You pick.
Well, I'm gonna need more time than we probably got allotted to talk about bobbleheads. So
all right,
let's talk about the Simpsons, shall we?
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel show, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Nobody has more fun than we do. And we've got Rob Kendall off the rails, 93 WIBC.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-890-5075. 800-890-5075. 800-890-5075. That's 800-890-5075. Paid for by Term Direct.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9379. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9379. That's 800-575-9379. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Hey folks, Scott Wilson here from Wilson Farm Market, just 20 minutes north of Carmel. We're proud to bring you the freshest produce farmed right here in Indiana and across the Midwest. And don't miss our home-style fried chicken, scratch-made bakery, and a deli packed with ready-to-go favorites. Got a sweet tooth? Check out a variety of old-fashioned candies, the kind that brings back sweet memories from your childhood. At Wilson Farm Market, we're all about local freshness, friendly faces, and food that feels like home. Wilson Farm Market. That's Wilson Farm Market.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Think of it as WIBC on 2x speed. Big opinions, great moments, and just enough chaos. The WIBC Mashup Podcast brings it all together in one fast, fun listen. New episode each weekday. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.
Okay. I know this may be an unpopular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think The Simpsons has gone on way too long. I think it's just way. I get it that it's a cartoon and the characters don't have to age.
Yeah.
But I say this as someone who's a big fan of The Simpsons. I think probably the first 7 or 8 years of The Simpsons is about as good as television has ever been. The writing, when it was Conan O'Brien and those guys, were wonderful. I kind of feel like after that, though, so that would be, about a 28-year run. Now, maybe we'll even give it 2 or 3 where it's winding down. Hey, you kind of run out of stuff. I just feel like it's been on a 20-year gravy train at this point.
Longest running scripted primetime TV show in history.
And they've cut out, like, the part of the charm of The Simpsons was they were offensive to everyone. Then they, couldn't do the Apu character anymore. They caved on all the political correct stuff. Like, after 36 years, I mean, you do the math, Homer Simpson should be in his 70s at this point.
Right.
And he's still...
Right.
Bart Simpson is my age. Oh, he's older than me. I mean, 36 years. He was 10 or whatever. He's much older than me. The baby was basically my age.
Right. The baby's still a baby, though, on the show.
I just think you've jumped the shark. And by the way, a bunch of these actors, the voice people now are quitting, or in some cases, sadly, they're dying off. The guy, Alf Clausen or whatever, the guy who did all the music, passed away. What are we doing here?
The show's won over 30 Emmy Awards, a Peabody Award, star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an Academy Award nomination for the movie. They've had a couple spin-offs. But the controversy right now is in the final episode of season 36. They have killed off Marge.
No, but they didn't kill her off. This is the problem. It's like a dream sequence, and the Simpson people are losing their mind, and it's some future vision or whatever. I mean, full disclosure, I've probably not watched The Simpsons, new episodes of The Simpsons, in 15 years. So I have no idea if there's any story arcs. I don't usually do that. But, like, did you hear yourself? And I'm not saying you're saying anything wrong. I'm saying season 36. This is not Saturday Night Live, right? Like, this is the same characters. I think we've long since jumped the shark.
Are we way past Cowabunga?
Harry Shearer's got to be 80, right? At least, I don't know. I'll look this up real quick.
It's a flash-forward storyline sequence. Bart and Lisa, they have an estranged relationship. They no longer watch the Itchy and Scratchy show. And then it's revealed that Marge Simpson is looking down from heaven and that she has died.
Why is anybody mad about this? It's a look into the future. We're all, newsflash, I'm pulling a Joni Ernst here. We're all going to pass away.
Lisa's the NBA commissioner, by the way, in the episode. And she's financially supporting Homer, who lives in a retirement home who is being run illegally by Bart.
Okay, Harry Shearer is 81 years old. He's probably the most high profile of all the voice actors on The Simpsons, which means the majority of them have to be in their 70s. The chick who did one of Lisa or whatever, she quit, right? So, I mean, what are we doing?
Well, I think it's interesting that they're killing off the characters in this flash forward sequence because what it's doing, it's having people talk about the show again, which has become, as you said, kind of irrelevant, right?
Yeah,
it's just something that's out there. They just keep cranking it out.
And in a world where we're so fractured in terms of viewing. Like when I was a kid, The Simpsons were massive, and Bart was on video games and lunch boxes and T-shirts, and I think I definitely had the "Don't Have a Cow Man," shirt, and the video games, all of this stuff. Like, but
super fans are really bummed about this. In the heaven sequence, Marge is seen kissing Ringo Starr. And she says, I'm just glad we're allowed to marry different people in heaven, and then kisses him.
All right, what are we doing next? What's going on? What's happening?
Well, you tell me. You're the one who...
Oh, yeah, I'll figure it out during the break. You'll want to stay around for it. It'll be worth talking about. I'll make it entertaining.
It's Kendall Casey. It's 93 WIBC.
Masters Heating and Cooling is ready to make sure you are cool and comfortable all summer long. They took great care of my system, and they can help you make sure that everything is ready to go to ensure a nice, comfortable summer and then a very comfortable winter. I've worked with their general manager, David, numerous times, and it has always been a pleasure. And right now, you can get $500 off a new AC system. And if you've worked with Masters before and you've spent more than $500 on AC repairs in the last year, you can apply that amount as a credit towards a new system as well. Masters Heating and Cooling makes it easy. They've got flexible financing options and 24/7 service, so no matter what your issue, Masters Heating and Cooling is right there to take care of you and your family. Give Masters Heating and Cooling a call. 317-567-9505. Tell them Tony Katz sent you. 317-567-9505. Or request service online at mastersindy.com. mastersindy.com.
Hey, earlier we told Casey you got to get the heck out of Indianapolis, and when she finally decides to wise up and do that, she needs to call my friend Mark Deedle. Hey, home sales activity is good, not great. So many homes, if improperly marketed, are sitting on the market. Hiring the wrong sales agent will cost you time and money. Hire the expert who maximizes equity and sells fast. The expert realtor, I recommend my friend Mark Deedle. Maybe you want fast, guaranteed, no hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Mark Deedle guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Luke and Emma in Franklin had to say about working with Mark Deedle. We found the perfect piece of land and began building our new dream home, but we needed to sell our old place at the right price to fund the dream. We hired the Mark Deedle team and got multiple offers in the first weekend, closed in 25 days, and they negotiated for us to stay while we completed our new place. Selling was stress-free and profitable with Mark Deedle. Call the local Indianapolis agent I trust and recommend, and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Deedle at 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdeedle.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com.
Summertime's here, so get a hot summertime deal at Tom Roush Lincoln.
Get Lincoln's employee pricing on most all new Lincolns. Get up to $20,000 off select 2024 Navigators. Up to $8,000 off select 2024
Lincoln Nautilus. Come and see why the Roush family has served the community for over 53 years at Tom Roush Lincoln.
Navigator MSRP 105-195. Nautilus MSRP 60-195. 2025 Navigators excluded from employee pricing. Subject to credit approval. See dealer for complete offer details.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
Here's a harsh fact. 40% of women and nearly 20% of men suffer from varicose or spider veins.
Left untreated, these veins can cause tired, heavy legs, swelling, burning, cramping, aching, even restless leg syndrome. In some cases, it can lead to serious health risks like blood clots. USA Vein Clinics offers minimally invasive treatments that take as little as 15 minutes, covered by most insurances. Call 317-516-6861 and schedule your appointment today. Don't wait. 317-516-6861 for free information today. Imagine walking, exercising, and sleeping peacefully again. Varicose and spider veins won't go away on their own. USA Vein Clinics can help. Call 317-516-6861 for fast, easy, affordable solutions. USA Vein Clinics treatments are covered by most insurance plans. Don't put this off any longer. Call 317-516-6861.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Apologize to our great warriors. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News has what President Trump wants what he calls the fake news media to do. After a Pentagon update this morning to the U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend, he called on a Truth Social post was one of the greatest, most professional updates he's ever seen.
I can say here that the assessment is that we significantly damaged the nuclear program, setting it back by years. I repeat, years.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also pushed back on the reports about an initial Pentagon assessment leaked to the media, suggesting there might have only been limited damage.
It admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all.
Now, that leak has the Trump administration limiting what they'll disclose in briefings to Congress today and tomorrow. Republican Senator Dave McCormick tells Fox it was
a remarkable operation. And let's not forget that it was preceded by the Israelis taking out nuclear scientists, taking out the ballistic missile capability.
Well, despite that, Iran's supreme leader went on state TV today declaring victory over Israel and the U.S., claiming there is no significant damage. And Ayatollah Khamenei also boasted
the Islamic Republic delivered a hard slap to America's face by attacking one of its key bases in the region, Al Udeid Air Base, and inflicted damage.
Well, the U.S. shot those missiles down when they were aimed at the U.S. on Monday. Closing arguments about to get underway at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial in federal court in New York. Prosecutors go first. The rapper and music producer did not testify in the case. His lawyers' arguments are tomorrow. We got an update to the economy this morning showing the shrinkage instead of growth to start the year was a bit worse than initially reported. The GDP contraction in the first quarter was revised from 0.2 to 0.5%. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A crash with a train and multiple people dead. It's sunny 84 on Monument Circle, but feels like 94. The high today, 92. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 10:02. 5 people were killed in Gary late Wednesday night when a train collided with a vehicle. The South Shoreline train 133 was stopped just west of Miller Station after the crash. A witness told officers that the vehicle with 5 people in it went around the gates and into the train's path. The identities of the victims have not yet been released. The incident now under investigation by the Gary Police Department. Critics are calling out the almost $500,000 in taxpayer funds spent to defend a local official. Johnette Cruz explains.
New records reveal Indiana has spent over $491,000 in public funds defending Attorney General Todd Rokita in multiple disciplinary and ethics cases. The state paid 4 law firms for Rokita's representation in at least 6 matters before the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission. Rokita calls these investigations politically motivated. Critics argue taxpayers shouldn't foot the bill for what they see as campaign expenses. Johnette Cruz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Not letting them off the hook is the message from Meow Mission, holding a protest outside the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office Wednesday, calling for charges to be filed against 3 men.
For the admitted crimes they've committed against those 2 cats at Jayco RV on February 27th when they crushed them in a trash compactor, killing them, mutilating them.
That's a spokesperson for Meow Mission. It was unclear why the charges against the men were initially dropped earlier this month. No picks last night in the NBA draft for the Indiana Pacers, but they still made some noise. They will now have 2 picks in tonight's second round after they traded a future draft pick in cash to the Spurs in return for their second-round pick. The team holds the 38th and 54th overall selections. And after ending the West Coast road trip with a win in Seattle, the Fever are back on the court tonight, taking on the LA Sparks at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Kendall and Casey back in 1 minute.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now at 800-810-1820. 800-810-1820. 800-810-1820. That's 800-810-1820.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Do you want me to read it after yesterday? I mean, you usually get a day off after a great athletic performance. Do you want me to read the tweet in the voice? I mean,
no, you don't have to. You did such a good job
you.
Yesterday, and it was such a long tweet. You put so much effort into yesterday. I think you do deserve a day off from doing the Trump voice today.
Oh, bless your heart.
You know, there are certain people that he likes and certain people that he doesn't like, and it's pretty clear. And sometimes the relationships that Donald Trump has kind of weave and bob throughout the years.
Well, one of the things as an elected official at any level, but certainly as a level as high as the presidency, and one of the reasons I think Trump would actually get a lot more done is he struggles to focus. Like, the nation is too big and there are too many problems and there are too many dirt bags to fight everyone. Look at how we struggle with that on a local level. You've got to stay laser focused on the things that you care the most about. Whatever those, you always talk about with the door hangers, right? Where you pick 3 or 4 things and that's your campaign. You pick your campaign, if all things are equal, money, access to media, whatever, district setup, is going to be won or lost based on messaging and a core message. And it's the same thing is true if you extrapolate it out to the presidency. You've got to pick 3 or 4 things, and in 4 years, you're going to try to get those 3 or 4 big things accomplished. And everything you talk about, obviously, you've got things that come up like military engagements or whatever. I'm not saying that. But Trump takes on too many people and too many things that actually have nothing to do. They don't apply at all to the broader topics he's trying to better or trying to make better or things he's trying to accomplish. And I just think it's a colossal distraction from that mission.
So Netanyahu's facing a number of political challenges at home, and Donald Trump blasted it, said it was a witch hunt, and that he was a great wartime prime minister. He said him and Bibi went through hell together. They fought a very tough and brilliant longtime enemy. So he was saying, you know, his opinion on what's going on in another country, their political system.
Which is fine, but what good does it do you? Donald Trump's...
Is it fine? Should he be weighing in on that?
Well, no, I'm saying it's fine in the sense of, like, it's not going to start, some sort of international incident. It's not some felonious action, but it doesn't further the agenda. Like, nobody in Israel is going to do something based on what Donald Trump says. That thing is going to play itself out. Netanyahu's been under, corruption investigations, et cetera. It doesn't mean he did it. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. But it's also, dude, you got enough going on. And when he picks the fights with AOC is irrelevant to what Trump is trying to accomplish. If the Republicans do their job, he doesn't need AOC. And AOC's words don't sway anyone that he's trying to sway. She's not getting people in the middle. Doesn't this sound familiar? And we've talked about this before. Who does this remind you of? Some guy who'd rather be famous on the internet or on television or be talked about than doing the job that is in front of him.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. My point is, and this is the new world we live in where these politicians, and Trump he's a legitimate celebrity, right? He's one of the most famous people in the world, was before he was president. But like when he attacks the mayor of New York City, it doesn't serve any purpose.
You're talking about the nominee? The
Democrat
I'm sorry,
nominee? I've jumped the gun here. Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Casey, for correcting me. The Democrat nominee for mayor in New York City.
Right. Please don't get ahead of that.
Yeah. It doesn't, I guess, necessarily mean he's going to win, but probably a Freudian slip there. Yeah, the guy is a complete nutbag. But you're the president of the United States. New York is a super blue state. It's a super blue city on top of a super blue state. The Republicans have no chance there. You're not going to fix anything. And you've just created a distraction of people wanting to talk about your criticism of this guy versus, hey, how do we get the big, beautiful bill across the finish line? Which, of course, I hope they don't. But what, the border stuff, all of these things that are going to actually affect the country as a collective are going to affect how people view you and your presidency. When you get distracted on the side actors who don't impact you at all, or the country as a collective at all, or don't have any power over the country as a collective at all, you're taking the focus off the mission.
So we've got the circus coming to town, right? And you remember one of the acts in the circus used to be like the spinning plates.
The circus is coming?
Yeah. Circus is coming.
It's not Ringling Brothers anymore, is it?
No, but it's the big top, the whole thing.
Really? Are you going?
I don't know. I haven't thought of it.
You're an events person. I figured you would totally go to the circus. That's
Depends
exciting.
on who they shoot
Where
out of
did
the
you hear
cannon.
this at?
Rob, what do you mean? Where did I hear this at? It's on the template, by the way.
No, you can't apply that. I asked you where you heard it from.
WTHR, WIBC, our newsroom.
No kidding.
Yes.
Huh.
But the point is, they used to have like the guy who would do the spinning plates.
Yeah.
And he's got to keep the plates spinning before one crashes. Is Donald Trump commenting on the mayoral race in New York City, just adding another plate that he's got to keep spinning?
It's self-serving. It's totally self-serving. It does nothing to push the agenda. When I was a kid, I was enamored. My grandmother used to take me to the circus multiple times. I was enamored with the what I called the step right up guy. And I think obviously
the barker?
by the 80s, 90s, when I was a kid, the circus had become somewhat mainstream to the point that we're not like elixir salesmen outside the premises. But I was always amazed, and I felt the same thing about pro wrestling, that something that was obviously, even as a small boy, it was obviously not real, and yet people would willfully engage with it and get excitement out of it and engross themselves in it. And that was always very interesting to me about the ability of people like the carnies. I was floored. Like every year on the 4th of July, there would be a carnival that would come to the Brownsburg Park. And I would, as a kid, even when I would go as a kid, like a little boy, I would watch those guys with their microphones, and they would entice, they would goad seemingly coherent, full body and mind adults into playing a game that appeared highly rigged against the person playing the game. And people would part with their money. And I used to watch that and think, that is quite the talent and the skill to be able to get someone to engage in something that they know is not on the level, and yet they do it anyway.
Since you asked, let me give you the details.
Yes.
It's the Indiana State Fair. They announced this.
Perfect.
The fair runs August 1st through the 17th, and it's going to be the Big Top Zone at the fairgrounds, free with part of your state fair admission. Clowns, aerialists, acrobats, they're all going to be there. I'm looking forward to the X-Metal Riders and the Globe of Death.
There were 3 jobs.
That's where they have the motorcycle stunt team performing inside the round steel cage.
There were 3 jobs that I always said as a younger person, if I got blown out of radio, that I would love to do for a year. Now,
Human cannonball?
As a married person with a child.
That's what some people are hoping for.
I would not do that anymore. My priorities have changed. But as a young single person, there were 3 jobs. One was become a bartender for a year, like at a place that had like a lot of clientele. I'm not necessarily saying high-level clientele, but a lot of people that you could meet and talk to. 2, I really thought it would be fun to be an Uber driver and the people you would meet. And I actually had a plan at one point before I ended up working here, was I was going to spend a year being a bartender and an Uber driver, and then I was going to write a book about all the people that I met.
Yeah.
And then the third job, and this goes way back to like even when I was a kid, I really thought it would be fun to be in a traveling carnival for a year and run one of those games that is clearly rigged against the player and be able to do that for a year and like hone a craft on being able to convince people that your side was, or your thing was the way to go. And I never got to do any of those. But it is Thursday, and they let people go on Thursdays.
There's
around
still
here.
time.
So
You never know.
Maybe,
But speaking of the clown show, Donald Trump said it's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zohran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous.
All right, let's take... Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, he goes on to say that he looks terrible and his voice is grating.
Yeah, again, it's
He's
like...
got a comment.
You're just looking... As we used to say when I was in junior high and high school, that kid is looking for the ATT. That kid is looking for the attention. The ATT. That's what Trump is looking for, is the ATT. And that doesn't... It's fine. It's great for our show. It's funny. We laugh at it. We read it. It's probably good for ratings. Ha-ha. But in terms of running the country and getting things accomplished, it's a distraction. Nikki Kelly from the Capitol Chronicle is going to join us next. A lot of hot button topics to get to. We've got how much money the state ended up wasting on those execution drugs. We've got this Rokita drama and how much money
we're spending.
Wasted to fit in his big fat yapper. Bunch to get to.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with the run either.
And another day for this.
First heat wave of the summer.
Temperatures soaring into the 90s. Plus, another possibility of this.
President Biden's use of the auto pen.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Shooting on Monument Circle.
Just another day. Not with all this happening every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed a musty smell in your home? I hope not, because damp smells mean that you could have a crawl space problem. That's where Indiana Foundation Service comes in, a groundworks company. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to waterproof your crawl space and get to the root cause of the problem. Schedule your free inspection at indianafoundation.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Trust employee owned. B Windows extending our employee discount to you. Up to 55% off, plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. Trust your home to be.
Man at the top says it's lonely up there. If it is, man, I don't care. The big white house through the parking lot.
Casey, we were talking the other day about what a great service these public servants do. They keep us in job security.
What are you talking about?
Well, as long as they're going to be pulling ridiculous shenanigans, we'll have things to talk about.
Oh, I see. Because their clown behavior keeps us entertained, we have to talk about it.
Yes, and thankfully there's more than just us who cover, as you described it, the clown behavior. One of the best in the business, Nikki Kelly from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle joins us now. Nikki Kelly, hello.
Good morning.
Now, I don't know if you're aware, but I nominated you for a very prestigious non-existent position the other day.
I'm excited to serve and receive my non-existent salary.
I nominated,
Yes.
I don't know if you saw this, Casey, I nominated Nikki Kelly as one of 3 people who should serve on the non-existent transparency board portion of the Indiana Economic Development Commission.
Yes, I did see that. She seems very excited to accept the non-salary.
Well, I mean, you think about it, right? It's actually a good idea. You know,
It is a good idea.
Somebody who just reports to the taxpayers, you don't even have to let them vote. And when it comes to giving information to the taxpayers, Nikki, I don't think anybody does it better than you.
Well, thanks.
Speaking of which, you guys have a bevy of big articles over at Indiana Capital Chronicle about what's going on with state government. But one of the big ones that stood out to me was this article about how much money got essentially wasted on execution drugs that weren't used.
Yeah, we got some more information. This has kind of slowly been dribbling out. We, of course, filed a lawsuit to get the cost of the original purchase and just found out this week that there was a second purchase. And so the original purchase was $900,000, 3 doses. We used 1, 2 expired. So that's $600,000 if you guys are counting. And then Governor Braun had to buy a 4th dose for the recent execution of Benjamin Ritchie, and that one was used. And so we're up to almost $1.2 million in buying execution drugs. So he says he's done with that now.
And this is, okay, so this is the next part of the equation, right? He says he's done with that. Does that mean he's done with the death penalty? Does he want a firing squad? He's very vague on what that means.
I think he wants lawmakers to come together and come up with some other options. Obviously, shelling out that much money for a drug is not sustainable, I don't think, in terms of, we only have, I think, 6 people left, but that's a lot of money to do. And so there are other states are using some different options like the firing squad or hypoxia. And so I think that he wants them to come together and have a discussion about other methods. And I think that will open the discussion to, should we have it at all anymore? There are certainly some Republicans who wanted to move that way already this year, but the bill didn't get a hearing.
Yeah, so that's the next part of this equation. There is a growing movement, even amongst his own party, which I don't think the people necessarily are there so much, but amongst his own party in the General Assembly, there's starting to be a push to get rid of the death penalty in Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, the lawmakers that have come out, several of them against it, Representative Bob Morris, et cetera, I mean, a lot of them are Catholic, and they feel like it's a consistency issue. We're either for life and we fight against abortion, and they also consider this to be for life. And so they're seeing it as being consistent and supportive of, life.
Nikki Kelly from the Indiana Capital Chronicle is our guest. Keeping in line with our theme today, which is wastes of taxpayer money. Todd Rokita back in the news. This clown has cost the taxpayers, according to you guys, $491,000 in public funds to defend his shenanigans in front of the
6 separate disciplinary matters.
Mr. Conservative Protect the Taxpayers has cost us a lot of money because he can't keep his yapper shut. Tell us about it.
Yeah, finally, we have been trying to get these numbers for almost 2 years, and so they finally provided them. And basically, yeah, he wants to be clear. Although he's only had charges brought against him by the disciplinary commission twice, many more complaints have been filed, and so he has had attorneys for all of those as well. You mentioned 6. Those other ones did not result in official charges, but they still had to go through an informal process. So when you put those all together, it's $491,000 over a 3-year period, to defend his law license in these ethical probes.
I think what's frustrating about this is most of these relate to, and of course the stuff in front of him now is relating to, something he did to himself, which is he ran on television and ran his mouth, and from the moment he did that, any person who knows anything about government said that's totally out of line for his job as the Attorney General, whether you're conservative or liberal. And it was so obvious, and I think that's why people are upset, because was not some gotcha thing. He did this to himself.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would say, well, he should have First Amendment rights, and he does. But as an attorney, he has a separate set of conduct rules that are much more specific and stringent. And, those are going to make it harder for him to make his points without getting in trouble with, quote, tainting a jury pool or things like that. And so that's kind of where those things are meeting in the middle.
Can you tell us what grievances are still out there?
It's kind of hard to keep track, but well, and that's part of the thing. And he has pushed for more transparency, and I do agree with this. So what happens is if you filed a complaint tomorrow, that's not public until if the disciplinary commission decided to file a formal charge. But people who file the complaints can tell us that they've filed them. See, and so some people maybe have told us they filed complaints, some people haven't. So we don't technically know how many exist. We only know of the ones that people have confirmed they filed. There was one recently filed by Senator Liz Brown. That was very recent, so I don't think much has happened on that. We've got the existing one, which was, related to the Caitlin Bernard comments. And I think there are a couple other ones that have been filed as inappropriate comments by an attorney. So we don't technically know how many exist, 3, 4 maybe still.
I want to come back to something you said earlier. Nikki Kelly from the Capitol Chronicle is our guest, because I think this is very important. And Casey and I've talked about this at length, because Rokita's defense and all this is, well, I was just executing my First Amendment right, and the liberal judicial system. By the way, all of these judges that will oversee his case were appointed by Republican governors at the state Supreme Court. But that's neither here nor there. He has the right to the First Amendment, but you give up some of that when you join a club willfully. The club he has joined as attorneys, the same way as broadcasters. There's rules for the road for us, the things that we can't say on the radio, which you accept when you agree to be a broadcaster on public airwaves. It's like Nikki, he doesn't get it that you give up certain things when you agree to become an attorney. Nobody held a gun to your head and made you do it.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely more stringent rules, and it goes for prosecutors too, or defense attorneys. There are things they can and can't say about legal matters. And so you are definitely giving up, I think, a little bit of your freedom of speech, because you have to follow these professional rules of conduct if you want to maintain your law license.
Okay, before we let you go, I saw you guys had the article about the interim, what do they call them, like summer study committees or interim committees, or basically people are going to decide kind of what the agenda looks like for next year's legislative session. Braun has promised, I got all these big things left on property taxes and local government reform, and I think he told a group of conservative activists he had an ace up his sleeve. Is there anything you saw in this that said anything big is going to happen with that next year?
I don't think they assigned anything on property taxes. I think they feel like they just had an entirely huge discussion on that. They assigned some things on medical debt and AI use by state government and a number of other sort of interesting issues. Sometimes these work their way into bills for the next session, and sometimes they don't. So it's just a chance to have kind of more in-depth discussions on them outside of a session calendar that's compressed.
So there's nothing, you're an expert, you've been around this for, 25 years. There's nothing you saw in this list of things and people and committees that would leave you to believe there's something big in year 2 for property taxes or local government reform?
No, but I got to be honest, a lot of what they pass doesn't go through these interim committees. So, just because they're not studying something does not mean that they won't pass on that. That they won't move forward on issues. They just finished a 2-year tax study that included property taxes. So I'm not surprised that they didn't want to have another one already.
You're always so optimistic. That's why we like you.
Yeah.
Nikki Kelly, Indiana Capitol Chronicle, thank you.
Have a good week, guys.
Yeah, you too. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
The Indiana Derby
Derby is one of the best days of summer. It's the state's biggest horse racing event with over $1 million in total purse money on the line. This is Racing Rachel inviting you to Horseshoe, Indianapolis, Saturday, July 5th for all the fun. The 31st running of the Indiana Derby has a loaded race card with 8 stakes races featuring some of the nation's top 3-year-old thoroughbreds. And off track at Horseshoe Indy, we've got loads of other Derby Day entertainment for fans too, like a free cigar rolling station for the first 500 people, $1,000 hat contest, a handicapping contest, plus mega bet drawing, magic mirror selfie station, food trucks, and more. All ages are welcome, plus admission and parking are free. First race goes off at noon, rain or shine, with plenty of seating both indoors and out. So join us for the 31st running of the Indiana Derby, July 5th at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, just off I-74 in Shelbyville. Come on out and have a day.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac automatic standby generator for your home from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter. Call 317-827-0808. Generator Supercenter of Indianapolis, 317-827-0808.
Denny Smith here. The hot summer sales continue at Miss M's Home and Garden and Sundown Gardens. Happening now, save more when you buy more trees and shrubs. Now, when you buy 2, you save 10%. When you buy 4, you save 20%. And get this, when you buy 6 or more trees and or shrubs, you save 30%. Also, if you need a refresh in the porch planters, annuals are 30% off. Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Barkersville. Sundown Gardens, 186th Street, Spring Mill Road in Westfield.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
As a caregiver, managing your loved one's health can at times be overwhelming. This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joy's House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. In a moment, I'll share 3 tips to help you manage your loved one's medical care effectively.
Cardon & Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Visit cardon.us to find a community near you.
Tip number 1, keep a list of all medications, dosages, and schedules to ensure your loved one is taking their medication correctly. Second, attend doctor's appointments with your loved one when you're able. And finally, stay organized by keeping forms, notes, and other important documents in one secure place. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access a library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Iran's supreme leader making more comments. Plenty of sunshine, 85 in downtown Indy with the heat advisory still in effect till tomorrow. Your high today, 92. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 10:32. Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei making his first public statement since a ceasefire was declared in his country's war with Israel, and it follows his country's retaliatory strikes on a U.S. airbase in Qatar.
A lot of people were beginning to wonder whether the Ayatollah was dead or alive. He has appeared on Iran's state television. It's not clear exactly when that video was made, but he did say Israel lost the war, and he also said the U.S. had received a heavy slap in the face.
The President of the United States made an unusual exaggeration in describing what had happened.
Some more images of Monday's attack over Qatar by Iran. According to President Trump, Iran fired 14 short and medium-range ballistic missiles at the U.S. airbase Al Udeid. According to Trump, 13 of those missiles were intercepted and destroyed.
Fox's Steve Harrigan reporting only 44 soldiers were left to defend the airbase. The base normally holds 10,000 troops. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane holding a briefing at the Pentagon this morning where they discussed the recent U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities.
It admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary.
It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report.
Secretary Hegseth praising President Trump for the strikes, saying they helped open the way to a new ceasefire deal between Iran and Israel. He also disputed claims from a recent leaked U.S. intelligence report that found the facilities had not been destroyed. New York City Mayor Eric Adams expected to officially announce his campaign for re-election today, just a few days after New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani claimed victory in the Democratic primary. Adams will run as an independent, opting not to run as a Democrat in 2025. A poll back in March had Adams at only 20% approval as he faces backlash from voters for being charged with fraud, bribery, and other crimes last year. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
Downtown Indy's Fourth Fest, presented by UA Local 440 on the Indiana War Memorial Grounds, kicks off with a street party featuring live music, a kids zone, great local food, and more, 6 to 10 p.m. Then fireworks with an amazing grand finale, thanks to the Indiana Fever and WNBA All-Star Committee.
The street party is brought to you by Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana. One organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and heal 75 more. Sign up at donatelifeindiana.org and talk to your family about your decision.
For more info, go to downtownindy.org.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
All right, I'm going to hit you with the press release that was just sent my way.
Okay.
You have no idea what I'm about to tell you.
No, I
can't
don't. It's
wait.
Scour my email to see if I got it.
You did not get it because it came to me from the First Lady of WIBC, Terry Stacy.
Oh, okay.
During the break, Terry's office is connected to ours, and I was back there, and she was amazed at this press release as well. And I said, please send that over to me. I want to hit Casey with it on the air.
Oh, great.
And see what her reaction is.
Okay.
Okay, so this press release comes from the Indiana Fever.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to read you. I'm going to read you exactly as it is written on the computer screen in front of me. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Sequel has been named as the official tampon partner of the Indiana Fever.
Okay.
As part of this partnership, Sequel products will be available for both Fever players and fans. With complimentary spiral tampons available in the team's locker room and throughout Gainbridge Fieldhouse restrooms.
Oh, okay, that's nice. What? It's a product they use. It's a product many of their fans use. Why wouldn't they partner?
Okay, so this is the question Terry and I were throwing back and forth with each other. While, yes, certainly it is a viable...
I've never heard of that brand, though.
Well...
How do you spell it?
Maybe that's why they're advertising with the Fever.
Right.
Sequel. S-E-Quel.
Okay, just like it sounds. Okay.
And spiral tampons. Now, look, I know what they are. I know the function. I'm not, like, super familiar beyond that. And while it is, and this is the conversation Terry and I were having, while it is certainly a useful, law-abiding product,
yeah,
it does seem like... I'm trying to think of what the male equivalent to this would be. The only thing that came to mind is, like, would the Pacers be having Trojan as the official condom of the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're the same. It's just, like, off the top of my head, that's the first thing I'm thinking of.
I would think, I don't know, don't they have those man wipes or whatever they're called?
Dude wipes?
Dude wipes.
But you could use a dude wipe, couldn't you?
I could.
Yeah.
I could, I guess. So they're saying that they're introducing the first engineering redesign of the tampon in 80 years. That's interesting.
Did it need redesigned? As you are a woman.
Good, thank you for noticing.
Did it need redesigned?
Well,
were you at any point?
They made improvements throughout the years.
Well, but and I'm not trying to be like graphic with this, but at any point as a woman where you're like, these freaking tampons need redesigned.
Well, clearly, because why would they do it then?
I mean, like, again, a condom is the only thing I can think of that would apply that would be similar to this. As a man, it just works, right? At no point in the history of ever was I like, you know what somebody got to really do? Redesign the condom.
Well, they've made improvements or changes to condoms over the years.
It seems pretty similar.
Well, and that's the thing, I think, with the tampon. It's still doing the same thing.
This could just be a marketing thing. Maybe it's not really all that different.
You think so? They say engineering innovation plus game day performance is the winning combination.
Okay, so here, quote, we're excited to team up with Sequel, a woman-founded and led company.
Mm-hmm.
What that has to do with anything, I don't know. That's prioritizing the needs of women athletes. Now, this tampon, it stinks, but it was woman-founded.
Invented by a former high-level athlete.
We are a high-level athlete. They didn't say who?
No.
Well, how high level could you be if they don't say who?
You can meet the team here.
Like, wouldn't you be like, this tampon was founded by Martina Navratilova or
Amanda and Greta.
Peekaboo Street.
They played lacrosse at Stanford.
Is that high level?
6-time national champion in life-saving.
In life-saving?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Is that a sport?
Greta played lacrosse at Stanford, and Amanda became a 6-time national champion in life-saving.
That has to be a misprint. Kev, have you ever seen...
on their website, Rob.
That's what I'm saying. It has to be a misprint.
And on the website, official tampon of the Indiana Fever, 20% off
life-saving
site-wide.
sport. Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess there is. Okay, here's what Wikipedia has to say about life-saving sport.
Mm-hmm.
Life-saving, also known as life-saving sport, is a group of sports disciplines based on practices of life-saving. What? I've never even heard. Kevin, have you ever heard of this?
No. Can't we just save lives without making it a competition?
Ew. Okay. What does Wikipedia say about that? What are the disciplines? Oh my gosh, there's an actual list.
Is it like CPR?
Mannequin carry and rescue medley.
Oh, okay.
Mannequin tow.
Yeah.
Obstacle swim. Super lifesaver, which is a 200-meter freestyle swim where the swimmers must swim 75 meters to retrieve submerged mannequin and then tow another mannequin the remaining distance with a rescue tube, and line throw. So congratulations, you won a thing that nobody had ever heard of until today.
It's like when they had the fireman convention here, and they do the ladder climb and the get in the uniform as quickly as you can. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah. But
that seems like
I don't
actually
call it high level.
That's a useful skill, though.
It is a useful skill, but I'm with Kevin. I don't think that should be a sport. I think we should just be teaching the thing and then not making other people feel bad because while they're trying to save lives, may not be as good at saving lives as you.
You are the best at carrying a dummy.
Like at any point now, if ever, hopefully never
I'm
happens,
but
but someone is attempting to save my life, I'm going to be like, how did you do in the life-saving sport? I'm going to ask an EMT or a fireman, or a lifeguard.
Can I see your certificate, please?
Okay, so this is a little...
No, I don't have a problem with this sponsorship at all.
Really? You don't think it's weird?
No, why is it weird? This is a product that women need and use all the time.
Okay, so if you
I think it's a great partnership.
If you were to say the Indiana Pacers brought to you by Trojan, you would be like, yeah, it's a product dudes need.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay, then that's fine. I did not know what your answer was going to be. It's obviously a law-abiding product, whatever, free market, right? It works. I'm just saying, Terry and I were both a little caught off guard that was
to
the sponsor.
This is just one of those products. It's like a shampoo product or toothpaste or deodorant, toilet paper. It's one of those things that you use and you need.
Okay.
It's an introduction to the product.
You don't have to get angry at me. You're getting very aggressive.
I'm not getting angry about it. I don't have an issue with it.
It also seems like, though...
I'm out of the game anyway. So, I don't, good for them. They got this new product. Where were you 20 years ago?
This does seem like expensive, though. Thing to just give away at the ball games. I don't know how many people go to the ball games. I mean, last year, obviously, they were all sold out. So
how many people can you fit in Cambridge?
Well, let's say it's 17,000? Maybe it's a little less than that.
And so...
Kevin, look up what the capacity of Gainbridge Fieldhouse is. But let's just say for now it's 17,000. Let's say half of them are women. Probably
right,
not.
And
maybe.
then even less than that because of age.
Let's say there's 7,000 eligible consumers of the product at any given... Yes, Kevin.
It says for basketball, it says 17,274.
So, dang, was I good?
You're good.
I was good. I know the sports. Okay, so let's just say, let's even go low and say it's 5,000. If they're there and they're free, what is there one limit per customer? Is there some sort of special code you've got to enter with your ticket stub? What if somebody wants to take 10?
Right.
That seems like a relatively expensive endeavor.
Well, that's a good word of mouth, though, because those people can use the product and then say, oh, hey, by the way, have you heard of this new thing?
Wait. Have you as a woman ever had a conversation with another woman? Hey, what brand of tampon are you using?
Not the brand, but as a younger person, yes, I had a conversation about using them.
But not the brand.
No.
The thing itself. And okay, I got to do this in a family-friendly way. What?
No, I know.
Shoes, right? The official shoe of the Indiana Pacer, or the official shoe of Tyrese Halliburton.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want that. When I was a kid, I wanted the Larry Johnson shoes because they had gel in the back and Larry Johnson wore them.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I wanted the Dennis Rodman shoes because they tied up from the side and Dennis Rodman wore them. Those were my guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are women like saying? And again, I'm really making sure I do this in a way appropriate for radio airwaves.
Mm-hmm. Tiptoe your way through this.
If Caitlin Clark is using a certain brand of that, are women going to be like,
if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me?
Sign me up for that. Oh, give me that one. That's the one Caitlin's using.
Well, they're saying that
That's what they're implying, right? The official tampon of the Indiana Fever.
Well, they're saying that it's an innovation in the product.
What is the innovation?
Well, how do you want me to describe this? They've got this blue...
Kevin's so uncomfortable. Kevin's crawling under his desk.
I'm curious.
There's a blue thread that spirals down the tampon. I don't know what the blue thread does. Does it help...
See, they need to clarify. Because when I was a kid, Dominique Wilkins had the shoes with the pumps in them, and you'd pump them, and hey, this is supposed to help you you jump higher or run faster. What is this thing doing that's better?
Well, you know...
I don't even want to know.
They typically come in different sizes.
Yeah, they're like condoms.
For the flow.
They're like condoms.
Maybe this blue thread that spirals down the tampon.
Okay, my challenge to the
is
Pacers.
Flow control.
Next year, I want to see at Pacers home games, Trojan condoms or whatever the brand is, handed out in the men's rooms.
But that's a different product completely. I mean, you don't...
You're struggling. You're on the struggle bus.
Whether women want this to happen or not, it's happening. Men can have a choice on whether they're going to engage or not.
Our whole species depends on what we're describing happening. What do you mean men have a choice? You just want us to drive
this is a biological thing that is going to happen in women's body.
I got you.
Men don't
That was
have
a
to
great
use
segment.
the condom.
That was a great segment.
Was it?
Do you realize in the same hour we've gone from talking about, this is why our show is number one. In the same hour, we've gone from talking about wasting money on the death penalty drug, Todd Rokita, costing you money because he can't keep his yapper shut, to the official tampon of the Indiana Fever.
You know what also is funny about this is the two old women here at the station are talking about this.
Yeah. And that's why we love Terry Stacy. She keeps us on our toes. All right, Hammer's next.
It's Kendall Casey on 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, while the progressives' narrative about Iran crumbles, they bring back racism and xenophobia. Classics. That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Transform your home with Galaxy Concrete Coatings. You can say goodbye to cracked, stained, and dirty old floors and hello to durable, stunning surfaces that last. Their cutting-edge technology ensures a beautiful finish every time, and you get to pick out the color. Upgrade your home today by calling Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They're for garage floors, driveways, pool decks, and patios, and they come with a lifetime warranty and one-day professional installation. The phone number, 877-417-0635. You can find them online, too. GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially like the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in Indiana because energy tax credits put America first, bringing manufacturing jobs home and creating a stronger middle class.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. Senator Young, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits. Paid for by Built for America.
The news everyone's talking about, you'll find it at WIBC.com. The latest from City Hall, the White House, or the State House. Updated all day. Don't miss what matters. Stay in the know while you're on the go at WIBC and WIBC.com.
All right, you raise a very interesting question. Let's get into it. Jason Hammer, hello.
So I heard you guys talking about The Simpsons a little bit earlier, and Rob and I are both classic Simpsons fan.
Yeah.
Like, seasons 3 through 6 may have been some of the greatest television in the history of this country.
Yep, I agree.
But it's kind of jumped the shark, as you said earlier. But I will say this. The side characters of The Simpsons, probably some of the greatest side characters in the history of broadcast. So I got to thinking, what other shows would you be fascinated to watch if it were just about side characters? Like just 1 or 2 episodes. Let's say Casey Daniels is sitting down on a couch. You've had a long day. You've had to listen to Rob's bull crap. You turn the TV on, and it's an episode
Tuesday.
of your it's an episode of your favorite show, but it's not about one of the main characters.
Right.
And that's important. Like in Seinfeld, I consider the main characters the big 4.
Yeah.
Like in Friends, it's all the friends.
The friends.
Yeah.
Right? So
you're saying like a Gunther episode.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like on Simpsons, it's Homer, Marge, Bart, and Lisa.
Yep.
Those are the main characters. Like, I could watch a Krusty episode and laugh hysterically.
And they've done Sideshow Bob. They've done tons of
Ned
episodes.
Flanders.
Right. I think I would totally do it for Seinfeld. A Newman episode, I'm totally there for it. Now, you're not talking about a whole series. You're talking about an individual episode.
Right.
Totally there for Seinfeld. Newman, Banya, Soup Nazi, a lot of these guys.
Some of these old shows, like when you found out it was a Family Ties episode about Tina Yothers, I will see the Keaton family tomorrow. And you turn the channel off. But certain shows,
Tina Yothers taking some heat. I like that.
Certain shows, though, like you're entertained by the side characters.
Now, you said another one that I thought was true. I think Seinfeld could definitely do it. Three's Company. I agree with you on Three's Company.
Yeah.
Either a Furley or Roper. I mean, Roper got his own spin-off.
Yeah.
But I was always a Furley guy over Roper. Or Larry.
Yeah, you could have a whole Regal Beagle episode, get your white wine spritzer.
Right. Larry going down to the Beagle, only wearing a towel. Jack, twins! Like, freaking out. Like, I would watch a spin-off episode or 2 of that.
Okay, so you brought up Cheers. Obviously, that's a show that had some spin-offs.
And I consider
Frasier.
all those dudes in the bar main characters.
That was already a main character.
Right.
A show that did this very well, now it is not in the comedy genre, but people did get shows out of it, was The X-Files. The X-Files had the Cancer Man, Skinner, the Lone Gunman guys who got the show. They had a lot of wacky, like, side characters. I could do an episode of that.
What about the psychiatrist on The Sopranos?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Dr. Melfi?
Dr. Melfi. Get a whole show with him and what he has to deal with by being inside the head of the mob.
Now, would you consider, say, a Paulie Walnuts? Is he a main character for The Sopranos? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Syl, Paulie, you know, those
Any of the
guys.
crew. Yeah.
Underrated side character for The Sopranos was Steve Buscemi. Great as Tony B on The Sopranos.
Yes. Came a little later on in the series. Yeah, you didn't really know where he was going to go. And look.
And the old man from Big was on there, too. People forget that, yeah.
The dad from Home Alone was like the degenerate gambler guy. Like, I love it. I love the side characters discussion.
What about Bob Vance from Vance Refrigeration on The Office?
The Office is definitely one where you had a lot of wacky side people who you could probably. That's a good call, Casey. Definitely, yes. The
Jan
Office.
have a whole episode to herself.
Well, they kind of did. Yeah, they kind Donna did do that every so often. So yes, okay. So we've got several shows that we would do this with,
and shows that have really good casts. If they're all major players, don't count. Like I'm sure somebody's going to say Taxi, because pound for pound, Taxi had the greatest cast in the history of TV.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, look at that lineup that they threw out there for a primetime TV show. But I consider all of them kind of the same.
What about like Mona on Who's the Boss? I know you love Who's the Boss.
I'm not watching a Mona episode.
It's often referenced on the Hammer and Nigel show, Who's the Boss.
If I want to watch a horny old broad, I'll watch the Golden Girls and see Blanche doing her thing.
Boy, that is a great question. But yeah,
Golden Girls. Who was B. Arthur's degenerate husband?
Yeah, Stan Bolander was his.
Hi, it's me, Stan. Like, I'd watch a Stan episode. I think I'd be all right with that.
You know, Leslie Nielsen was one of their boyfriends at one point too. I forget which one it was, but he was in several episodes. Stan the Man Bolander, yeah.
Leslie Nielsen, I believe, marries B. Arthur at the very end.
That's right.
And that's when they all leave and separate.
That's right. Yes, yes. Underrated quasi spin-off of the Golden Girls was Empty Nest.
Did you ever see the Golden Palace?
Which was the actual spinoff of Golden Girls.
It was funny for a couple of episodes, and then it got really bad. Don Cheadle.
That's right.
Was in
ran
that.
the hotel.
Yes, he did.
But the Empty Nest, they had the good-looking older doctor who was a side character on Golden Girls, and then he got the empty. You've never seen this.
I have
Mulligan.
no idea what
Richard
you're talking
Mulligan.
about.
Yes, thank you.
And David Leisure, the Isuzu guy from the
that's
commercials,
right, yes.
was like the shady kind of guy in that.
I love one of my favorite things about Hammer is the amount of obscure television knowledge. Because who else would be able to be firmly grasped in the empty nest verbiage unprompted? Yes, Richard Mulligan. Thank you. Yes.
And in Golden Palace, which you can find on streaming, there was this stupid little kid in the
Yes,
show.
that's right.
And much like Happy Days, at one point he just disappeared.
That's right.
Like Richie Cunningham's brother went upstaiz with that basketball
And
you
never
never saw
came
him
back.
again.
Because the premise of
Never
Golden
back.
Palace was, I forget which ones it was, but a couple of them buy a hotel, right?
Yeah, it was Betty White and
Was it Blanche?
the old lady.
Sophia.
Sophia.
Yeah, I think they were all there but B. Arthur.
So it was Golden Girls minus
They
B.
could
Arthur.
not
They
agree
could've
on the
just written B.
contract
Arthur
on that
out
one.
of Golden Girls. Wouldn't that have just been? But yeah, you're right. The Simpsons is probably with the amount of, because it's a cartoon, they could make infinite people. The best
Chief Wiggum, Mayor Quimby.
side character show ever. I think Seinfeld with actual humans probably at or near the the tippy top.
They should have done an episode where they actually had the characters like the Art Vandelay or the Bob Sacramento. You know, names that you heard.
Oh, yeah,
that
but
they
never saw.
had a face to.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, the guy that's Kenny Banya is a comedian. He still tours around the country.
One of my favorite
Gold, Hammer, gold.
low-level Seinfeld character. I think he was only in one or two episodes, very small parts. Slippery Pete. He was the thief who was also the electrician. Mm-hmm. And when they steal the Frogger, move the Frogger, they bring him in, and he's mad because he thought they were stealing the Frogger, and then it turns out they bought the Frogger.
Was it the Jimmy, the guy that was the Jimmy? He was like in the West Wing, right? And that was Eric, the bad man, and Billy Madison.
That's right. Yeah.
Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, this is a good. This is a good segment. What are you doing today?
So we have a new podcast coming out at 1:00 today. Going to recap what almost was with 125-1. We'll switch into some baseball mode here. I'm going to have action on a game tonight, and then on the big radio extravaganza starting at 3. Rob's going to go off the rails. We're going to give an update on these wishy-washy, spineless people in the city county council, and we're going to have barguments today because Dan Levy's busy tomorrow, so barguments will be today.
Somebody made a good point. I think I've got the name right. It's Stan Zbornak was the name of the guy on Golden Girls. Stan Bolander was the guy on Homicide, the Ned Beatty character on Homicide. Too many Stans.
Hi, it's me, Stan.
What a great... And he had the toupee at one point, and then he didn't have the toupee.
Thank you, Hammer. You are listening to Kendall and Casey. It is 93 WIBC.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
At Advent, we help sleep apnea sufferers avoid the CPAP machine by getting your nose and throat working with our unique Advent approach that you won't find elsewhere.
Trust employee owned. B-Windows extending our employee discount to you. Up to 55% off, plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. Trust your home to be.
When was the last time you practiced your home fire escape plan? Be sure everyone in your family knows what to do if there's a fire. Get out, stay out. It's your fire safe response.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Visit redcrossblood.org today.
Did you ever ride your bike with a clothespin and a baseball card? Or use a typewriter for a school paper? Then here's a timely alert. Americans born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C, which often has no symptoms, but is a leading cause of liver cancer. The good news? Treatments are available that can cure hepatitis C. Talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. Know for sure. A message from the CDC.
It takes everyone in the community working together to create a brighter future. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Visit liveunited.org to learn how you can help.
Coming up in 2 minutes from the Technology Recyclers Studios, police in Gary investigating a collision involving a train with multiple fatalities. Who's announcing a run for state comptroller next year? And the Pacers have a few draft picks to make tonight at the NBA draft in the second round. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. Back to Fox News, it's 11 o'clock.
Another pro-life victory at the Supreme Court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A ruling in favor of South Carolina challenging funding to Planned Parenthood.
This could have repercussions well beyond South Carolina.
Fox's Shannon Bream outside the Supreme Court.
The governor issued an executive order years ago saying Medicaid funding that comes into the state cannot be used at Planned Parenthood clinics. He argued they perform abortions there, money is fungible, and he had a real worry about money going to those services, which, you know, by federal law, with rare exceptions, is not supposed to happen. So Planned Parenthood and one of its patients decided to file a lawsuit under a federal law. And what the court decided today is that individual patient does not have a right under the statute to sue to get that money that would be her Medicaid funding following her for use at a Planned Parenthood clinic in South Carolina.
In another ruling this morning, the Supreme Court gave the Texas death row inmate a potential lifeline, allowing Ruben Gutierrez to get DNA testing as he tries to prove his innocence in a robbery and murder in 1998 he was sentenced to die for. Now to the Pentagon, an update on the U.S. airstrike that hit Iran's facilities.
The weapons all guided to their intended targets and to their intended aim points.
That's Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, standing next to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Hegseth also chastised the media for reporting on a leaked initial assessment the strikes might have only done limited damage.
People are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
Closing arguments underway at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial.
And this is the main gist of what we're hearing from inside the courtroom. They want to make it clear to the jury, the prosecution, that Sean Diddy Combs thought he was so important, so wealthy, and such a big star that he thought he was above the law.
That's Fox's Alexis McAdams outside the federal court in New York City. The defense arguments are tomorrow. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
Multiple fatalities in a Gary train collision. Sunny 86 in the Circle City, feels like 98. The high today will be 92. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 11:02. 5 people are killed in a crash in Gary involving a vehicle and a South Shore Line train. The incident occurred near the Miller Station late last night. A witness told police that the car tried to beat a train across the tracks at around midnight. The Lake County coroner confirmed at least 5 deaths. The identities of those victims have not yet been released. Gary police are now investigating. Indianapolis Republicans say they won't stay silent about the harassment claims tied to Mayor Joe Hogsett's former aide Thomas Cook.
And I want to remind everybody, too, that Republicans put out a press release calling and condemning the investigative chairwoman, Krista Carlino, for the way she handled the entire investigative committee. And I demanded that that committee be reconvened.
Minority Leader Michael Paul Hart talking there with WIBC's Tony Katz. Councilmember Carlino has since stepped down from several committee roles following her call for the mayor to resign. The current state comptroller, Elise Nishala, is announcing a campaign to try and remain in that role.
A year from this month, I will be at the state convention, and I ask for the votes of Republican delegates.
Nishala has been state comptroller since December of 23. She says Indiana has been a model of fiscal responsibility with strong reserves and a balanced budget. New reporting says Indiana taxpayers dished out $491,000 in public funds to defend Attorney General Todd Rokita in a series of disciplinary investigations and ethics cases. The money covers Rokita's representation in at least 6 separate matters since 2022. The Indiana Fever are back home after a week-long road trip out west. They face Los Angeles tonight at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Player Alexi Hull says with them this season, anyone can step up at any time and have a great game.
Yeah, I think that's something we've been telling our entire team this whole time, is that it's not going to be the same person every night. And again, what was working, we just keep going at that.
The Fever also deciding to move on from Dewana Bonner. She was waived by the team Wednesday. She had just been signed during the offseason. And the Pacers are assessing their options now with having the 38th and 54th overall selections in tonight's second round of the NBA draft. They made a trade yesterday with the Spurs to take their second-round pick after not having a pick in the first round last night. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Summertime's here, so get a hot summertime deal at Tom Roush Lincoln. Get Lincoln's employee pricing on most all new Lincolns. Get up to $20,000 off select 2024 Navigators. Up to $8,000 off select 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Come and see why the Roush family has served the community for over 53 years at Tom Roush Lincoln.
Navigator MSRP 105-195. Nautilus MSRP 60-195. 2025 Navigators excluded from employee pricing. Subject to credit approval. See dealer for complete offer details.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
So Braun met with his new rich friends yesterday.
Are you talking about the new board of the IEDC?
That's right.
Yeah.
All 9 of them.
Mm-hmm.
This is fascinating, and it's something people really need to pay attention to. We touched on this before. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation is this shadow quasi-government entity which is not required to report things the way other government entities are. It's not subject to public records requests. What it does do is gobble up a lot of your money, and they give it away to very wealthy, powerful people and companies. And you're told, well, the goal of that, or the end result of that, is going to be a lot of economic development for the state. And one of the things, and I was thinking about this as I was coming into work today, one of the things that should be the goal of any elected official should not be a lot of economic development, whether you're a town or city councilman, whether you're the governor, all points in between. Not a lot of economic development, but the right economic development that fits what you are. And in the case of Indiana, we have become so focused on what I call bright, shiny objects. The idea of the press release and the value of the building or the jobs it creates or whatever we can make look awesome in a press release, that we have lost sight long ago of economic development that fits the character of what we are as Hoosiers. And the Economic Development Corporation has been front and center on this. When you look at what Indiana is becoming, there was a big article about this the other day. I can't remember where it was, about these. Oh, it was IndyStar. Maybe we'll get into that later this hour, too. About IndyStar talking about how the data centers, the IndyStar is basically saying the same thing that we have been saying.
Right.
We'll just get into it right now, in fact. So IndyStar had an article that will tie into this. IndyStar had an article.
They were talking specifically about Franklin, right? In that article?
Right. They're talking, and these data centers are popping up all over the place. They're proposed all over the place. And what the IndyStar laid out is what we've been telling you for years now on this program, which is these data centers Yeah, it's a giant building. And yeah, there's a lot of value to that building. But they have all of these special tax breaks that come with them. And once you factor in all the special tax breaks that these data centers are getting, it will be years and years and years until that data center starts paying enough in their freight to make up for what they're using in terms of resources. So the average abatement, if you got a really big, colossal, $100 million building or whatever, you might get a 10-year abatement on that. And the way abatements work in Indiana, if you don't know, it's phased in. So every year you pay 10% more. So if you have a 10-year abatement, you're going to pay 10% year one, 20% year two, and then you phase into 100%. Which, 10 years isn't a long time. But if it's a giant warehouse or whatever that's producing jobs, good jobs, all of these things, you can see the method to the madness potentially in doing it. With the data centers, number one, they don't really create any jobs. And two, because of these special tax abatements, you're looking at potentially 50 years before it's paying, quote unquote, what it should be paying. And now you have destroyed your landscape. You haven't really created anything noteworthy in terms of jobs that help Hoosiers, because the jobs that they do produce are often coming from foreigners or people moving in from out of state. And
sucking resources.
A lot of resources. Bingo, which is the power, which will lead into this other story we're about to get to, which is we're going to raise rates. And so the Economic Development Corporation under Holcomb was focused on two things. It's very clear. And look, Braun's basically admitting this. He won't say it out loud, but he's admitting it based on the fact that he totally took over the whole board, changed the whole board out. And the fact that he's ordered this audit. It was focused on crony capitalism, enriching a select group of people at the expense of everyone else, and bright, shiny objects that would look good in press releases.
He said today, I met with the new members of the IEDC board, excited to work with this great group of entrepreneurial leaders. Great things are coming at the new IEDC.
Is it like new Coke, Casey?
New and approved, baby. All focused on our North Star goals, higher wages and new jobs for Hoosiers. And
Whoa, stop for a second. Does he mean like actual Hoosiers, or does he mean people that are becoming quote-unquote Hoosiers on HB1 visas?
Yeah, because they have a lot of money. They can pay for it.
I was talking with a guy who I've known for a long time who lives in the same town that I do. And there is a neighborhood, a house farm, that went up down the street from him. And it's a sort of place where there should never be a house farm. And he said, I went through that neighborhood, and the people were out and started looking at the people. And he said, started actually talking to some of them. And one after another was talking about how they were in this country on some sort of worker permit. And so what you have seen is, and again, this guy is super conservative, normal guy. I have no doubt he actually did this, and he had these conversations with these people. He said, I would just drive around the neighborhood, I'd see these people out, I'd stop and talk to them. And they would tell me, yeah, I'm here on an HB1 visa or whatever. You have literally entire neighborhoods that are popping up that are being populated in large part by people who are not citizens of this country. They're not permanent citizens of the United States. And comes to the conversation that we've had about people bringing their values and their customs to this country because they're either have no plan to permanently be here, or they don't feel a need to adapt because they're not a citizen. And you have seen the takeover. And Indy reporter laid this out the last time he was with us, and I'm sure we'll get into this even more tomorrow on what's going on with these foreign workers coming into these communities and in many cases are occupying at or near entire neighborhoods. And this is directly because of things like the IEDC and they have done, in which they have taken your money, used it to facilitate foreign companies coming in who are bringing foreign workers and are outsourcing you out of society.
Right. Changing the landscape and sucking the resources and then employing.
So to Braun, my question to Braun would be this, and of course I'll never get to ask him now because there's no way he's ever coming on this show ever again. But my question to Braun or any other person would be, why do we need the Indiana Economic Development Corporation? Why do we even need them to exist? And I say this as such. If the goal is to attract companies, if the goal is to attract jobs, why don't we just have a tax policy that works for everyone?
Right.
And wouldn't naturally
that would entice
these companies would want to come to our state? And if it takes money taken from poor and middle class people to give to them. Why do we want those people to come here?
Yeah.
Why are we stealing from our citizens and giving them to the rich and the powerful? Unless, and stay with me, Case, because politicians will never do this, it's all about you and your press release and your ribbon cutting.
So the former House Speaker, John Gregg, who's one of the new appointees, he said they're going to focus on transparency moving forward and that they have instructed him to make board activities more open to the public. Keep in mind, they want to have a couple more people on that board.
Well, this is what they need to do. And I know people thought I was joking, and we talked with Nikki Kelly about this earlier. They need to have, if you don't want to give them voting rights, that's fine. But some sort of taxpayer advocate part of that board where their job, that person is to people, it needs to be people, is to take the information and give it to the public. And I've suggested members of the media who have a track record of being transparency advocates. Now, I said, look, I think Nikki Kelly from Capitol Chronicle, Stephen Whitmer from the Indy Reporter, and James Briggs from Indy Star. I think those people all do a phenomenal job of understanding government, of understanding how to what numbers and how the funds and all this stuff. You need something like that where normal people who are not beholden to these corporations, don't have a skin in the game. So I'm just there for the taxpayers. I'm there to take information and then relay it back to the people on how their money's being spent.
Right.
You want to fix the IEDC, you open it up and treat it like every other government entity where people can get information. It is easy to obtain or much easier to obtain. And stop this hide behind this letter of the law or that letter of the law. That's when you will fix the IEDC, which then comes back to, if you just have a good tax policy, why does it even need to exist?
So they say that they want to shift IEDC's focus from being a few mega sites, like what's going on in Boone County, to statewide business development. And that's part of the reason why they want to expand the board, because not all of the state is being represented. So they want to have a few more board members from specific areas within the state.
So they want to do LEAP everywhere is what he's saying.
Yes.
Because you notice, Braun, at no point have they proposed shutting down LEAP. At no point have they proposed, hey, this didn't work and we're sucking all this power and all this water and everything else. Why don't we just call it a day and tell Lily, good luck in Boone County. We hope you succeed. No, you notice they haven't proposed that, which means they want to do this. See, this is why we, Case, we take the letters on the page and tell you what it actually means. They want to start doing these LEAP-type districts all across the state. That is the goal of this. There's no one on that board when I see those names and say, that's a fighter for the taxpayer. That's a fighter for the land. That's a fighter for a person that's going to look at things and say our culture matters, who we are as Hoosiers matter. It's just mostly either the uber connected or super rich, powerful business people, and nothing's going to change.
Okay, now something that ties into this is yesterday Braun announced the Strategic Energy Growth Task Force.
SEGT? S-E-G-T? The SEGT?
It's supposed to be in response to our energy demand. He wants them to develop a long-term energy plan.
Okay, so
reliable and affordable energy for Hoosiers.
This is a great example of government creating a problem that didn't exist.
And then coming in to solve the problem.
Yeah. So the reason we're having an energy shortage right now is because of what we just laid out. That all this energy, I mean, who was it? Was it Indy Star? Maybe. Yeah, it was Indy Star. It was in that article about the data centers, about how much energy data centers actually use. And like they use as much as entire cities or towns. It is alarming beyond belief the amount of power that these monstrosities take. And then what happens is, because there's only so much, then the utility comes back and goes, hey, man, we got to find a way to do more of this, and it's going to cost you money because we got to put money into the resources to make the thing happen. And they don't look at the data center and go, hey, you did this. You pay for it. They go to you, the citizen, and go, well, we ran out of power. You better pay for it.
Yeah, you got to pay for it. So they've got a 5-year short-term goal and then the 20-year long-term. The short-term goals include being an export state. They want to make so much energy that we can give it away.
Yeah, and this is.
They also want to explore nuclear energy.
What's the thing called getting in over your skis? Isn't that the? This is an example of, and it's changing rapidly. It's changing day by day, but we did things well here. There are things we do well. We've done well since the inception of the state. We create stuff for people. Food. We feed a nation. We do make things here to some extent. We do that well. And instead of looking at the talents that the people who live here have chosen to make their lives here and say, what can we put around them to elevate them? We've said, let's bring in all of this new stuff that the people who are here in the way of life that we have created, the skill sets that people have will not apply to this. Well, shoot, now we got to bring in somebody whose skills do apply to this. And what you've done is you've wiped out the life and the land that people knew here, and you've replaced it with this new thing and with these new people, and everybody else is looking around. And the biggest question I have out of all of this, and no one can answer this question for me, and if somebody has the answer, I will give you as much time on this radio station as you desire on this radio show to answer this question for me. And I'm not asking in an angry fashion. I'm not asking in a gotcha, shock jock fashion. If all of this economic development is so good, then why have our taxes never been higher? If all of this stuff that happened has been so good for the communities and so good for the people and so good for you, then why in almost every facet of our existence, whether it's property taxes, gas taxes, wheel taxes, you name it, why have our taxes collectively never been higher if this economic development is so great? When does it start producing the benefit for the people who are here? And I would love to have that conversation with any member of the IEDC. I would love to have that conversation with the governor, the guy that's the head of the IEDC, any of those people. I would love to have that conversation because no one can explain this to me. And I think the answer is because it doesn't.
Well, maybe John Gregg would like to come on. He's the one who's out there saying, oh, we're going to be very transparent.
Well, let's see.
Here's the invitation.
The most transparent thing any of those people could do would be come on this radio show. I mean, if somebody had the cojones to walk in here and answer our questions, I think that would go a long way, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right.
Yeah.
Do we?
Yes.
I mean, the behavior is so... Okay, here's what we're torn on.
We do.
Really? Because the behavior is so ridiculous.
Do you want to give it more attention?
Well, he craves attention. Do we give bad behavior attention? That's what we'll ponder during the break.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Big, beautiful bill. It's big. It's a bill. We're going to grow this economy. We're going to spend some money. But you got to spend money to make money.
Does anybody trust the government, Republicans or Democrats, to get it right and do that? But if this were Democrats pushing through another $5 trillion, we'd say, what the hell are you doing? If you don't stop the spending, we're going to run out of money.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling will pay you cash for your scrap metal. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling may seem familiar to you, and that's because they are. They're trusted local family-owned businesses going back 3 generations in Indy with their familiar orange logo and a name you know. But you may not know they'll pay you cash for your scrap metal. Cash is king. Your scrap aluminum, steel, copper, and brass will get you cash from Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Just drop it off or schedule a pickup, and you'll put cash in your pocket. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Local names you can trust with 2 locations.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Get cash for your scrap. Get started at farnsworthmetals.com.
The Depot presents Freedom Fest at Depot Street Park in Greenfield this Saturday, featuring Smash Mouth.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play.
Enjoy the beer garden, food vendors, and Smash Mouth with special guests, that 90s band, and Reveal. Free admission this Saturday, and bring your lawn chairs.
So don't delay, act now, supplies are running out.
The gates open at 2 p.m. at Depot Street Park in Greenfield.
You might as well be walking on the sun.
The Indiana Derby is one
one of the best days of summer. It's the state's biggest horse racing event with over $1 million in total purse money on the line. This is Racing Rachel inviting you to Horseshoe, Indianapolis, Saturday, July 5th for all the fun. The 31st running of the Indiana Derby has a loaded race card with 8 stakes races featuring some of the nation's top 3-year-old thoroughbreds. And off track at Horseshoe Indy, we've got loads of other Derby Day entertainment for fans too, like a free cigar rolling station for the first 500 people, $1,000 hat contest, and a handicapping contest, plus mega bet drawing, magic mirror selfie station, food trucks, and more. All ages are welcome, plus admission and parking are free. First race goes off at noon, rain or shine, with plenty of seating both indoors and out. So join us for the 31st running of the Indiana Derby, July 5th at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, just off I-74 in Shelbyville. Come on out and have a day.
Trust employee owned. B Windows extending our employee discount to you, up to 55% off, plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. Trust your home to B.
Okay, you convinced me during the break. I don't want to do it, but you convinced me. You said the behavior is so ridiculous that we should probably discuss it.
Jump, dude. The ground will break your fall.
What does jumping out of an airplane have to do with serving the taxpayers?
Not much.
You're the voice of reason here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon way that you could connect jumping out of an airplane to serving the taxpayers?
You know, I tried to tie it in with like, I don't know, military recruiting or even tourism.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if either of those work. I mean, I know that's not the job.
That's not
the actual job of the LG, but
right.
I thought maybe they're switching directions.
So the lieutenant governor, who has given away basically all of his power, and I think now has proven himself totally disinterested in governing in any shape, form, or fashion. And look, give him credit. He would be a great American Greed character, right? Where he hoodwinks everybody, and then you don't realize that the con has been on until the bank account is empty, right? I mean, he, I guess, decided yesterday his gift to you, the state of Indiana, was he was going to spend his day jumping out of an airplane. Is that right? Do I understand that correctly?
Did he delete the post?
Oh, there's no way. No way. I think it was on his campaign account. He jumped out of an airplane. I saw it. He was there, according to his post, with Keegan Kagan from Diego's office. So the bond between Micah and Diego's office gets stronger.
Oh, no, it's still there.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to hide from that. He was very proud that he did it.
Yeah.
And so I guess, I don't know how much time he spent preparing for that, but your lieutenant governor's, the almost $200,000 a year you pay him, I guess, yesterday or day before, whenever it was that he did it, was spent jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah. He did it with the Army Golden Knights.
Oh.
America's elite parachute
Does the
team.
lieutenant governor have any say or control over the Army?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Also, seems like a pretty needlessly dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, too. Do they have to take out, like, an extra insurance policy or something?
Well, considering your job is to take over the state of Indiana if something were to, heaven forbid, happen to the governor, seems like a pretty needless risk for you to take. But it's a broader problem with this guy, which extends to the thread of the show today, as we talked about, which is politicians, both local, state, and federal. And that's sort of what we've had the theme of the show today, who are completely disinterested in working for you, who are completely disinterested in standing up and taking on battles for you, and they're just there to serve themselves and get their picture in a newspaper. And look, I've said it before, put me at the front of the line if you want to point at somebody and go, hey, it's your fault. Yep, you're right. I bought it. I totally did. Hook, line, and sinker. I wanted Micah to be different. I believed he was going to be different. Not only has he not been different, he's worse. He is probably, of all the people we lay out, the Bronze, the Roquitas, the Diegos, he may be the most self-absorbed look at me of them all.
Is he trying to prove that he has youth and vigor when you...
For what?
Compare him to Braun? I don't know. Like, I'm trying to find out, other than because it was a cool experience for him to do. I mean, he's promoting the Golden Knights, the Army? I mean, those are fantastic people to be promoted. But is he doing military recruitment? No. And then I thought, okay, is this part of tourism? Like, he would be fantastic if his office was in charge of Indiana tourism. But that didn't even happen in Indiana. That happened in Kentucky.
Oh, he didn't even jump in Indiana.
No,
he went to another state.
Right. It was in Kentucky where they did that.
And by the way, I don't think the Army is giving out like parachute jumps. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe you can buy a parachute jump.
I looked to see how much it cost. He did a tandem jump. And it typically costs between $200 and $500. And that includes the necessary gear and the training.
I would have thought it would have been more expensive than that to jump out of an airplane. That's where some guy goes with you, right?
Mhm.
Some trained professional.
Mhm.
You're not doing it
Yeah.
on your own. So again,
I mean, it looked like it was fun.
I'm sure. Well,
would you do it?
Oh no, I would not jump out of an
Yeah,
airplane.
I know.
I mean, first of all, I would not do that in that position because my job is to be working each day for the people. But even if I were not, I'm deathly afraid of heights, so I would not do that in any shape, form, or fashion.
He did it with Representative Haggard.
Craig Haggard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fine. I think Craig.
I mean, that wasn't who he tandem jumped with.
And he went with Keegan Kagan from Diego's office was on the post that I saw. So again, Diego and Micah, your theory that they have teamed up is totally. Which means when he was promising us and our audience, I'm gonna get to the bottom of India, and I'm very concerned about India. Clearly, he's not concerned about India at all. And so this is the question that we keep asking ourselves: is who's fighting for us? Like we took a flyer. Micah said all the right things. Somebody asked me this yesterday. I think this was on Twitter. They said, Rob, what do we do? Because when the people say all the right things,
we believe them.
I mean, if you can't believe the person when they say the thing, like what else are we supposed to do? And this is where I'm at in the point of just opting out of the voting process altogether, because you can't say any more right things than what like a Micah did. You can't. They had no track record of public office. There was nothing to go off of. Hey, so guy says he wants to go in and fight. All right, let's give him a shot. Well, he's turned out to be the worst of them all. So how do you vet? That's the question I struggle with now. How do you vet when seemingly every person, no matter what they say, save for maybe there's a handful of guys in the General Assembly right now, just end up going into business for themselves and become a member of that giant swamp? Like, what do you what do you do? I'm asking our audience. Like, I'm asking because I've tried everything I know how to try. I've done everything I know how to do. How do we ensure that I don't want to not vote again? I don't want to not vote. I don't want to opt out of the process. But this was like the last straw for me. Like, what else? How can I better vet people? What else can I do when somebody looks you in the eye and over years says, I want this, brother. I want to do this. I want to do the thing. I want to fight for the people. Like, somebody personally, not just on a campaign level. Like, you get to know. Well, obviously, I didn't know him at all. I mean, again, if it were American Greed, I would be the guy that they would be interviewing who woke up one day and all the money was out of the account and the swindler had disappeared, right? And I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to ensuring we get better people in there. So if you have ideas, we'd be very happy to hear them.
Please email them.
Because what is the question for Micah would be, what do you do all day? Like, what do you do? What do you do for the taxpayers all day?
Well, that's a different question.
Yeah, so
altogether.
I don't know. Anyway, that's we keep you updated on your elected officials, and that's there you go.
It's Kendall Casey. It's 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Not going away. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 11:30. Indianapolis Republicans say they won't stay silent about the harassment claims tied to Mayor Hogsett's former aide.
And I want to remind everybody, too, that Republicans put out a press release calling and condemning the investigative chairwoman, Krista Carlino, for the way she handled the entire investigative committee. And I demanded that that committee be reconvened.
Minority Leader Michael Paul Hart talking with WIBC's Tony Katz. Carlino has since stepped down from several committee roles following her call for the mayor to resign. A new report this week says taxpayers have footed nearly $500,000 in legal defense for State Attorney General Todd Rokita since 2022. Police in Gary say 5 people in a car were killed after being hit by a train late last night. The Fever are taking on the Sparks tonight at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Also, comedian Adam Sandler is announcing tour dates today with a stop planned for Indy in October. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 463-251-1912. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation by calling QC Kinetics at 463-251-1912. That's 463-251-1912.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's family-owned jewelry store, is dedicated to quality and fine craftsmanship. Let them help you celebrate that special moment in your life. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
Got this email. Thought it might be worth reading.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Steve.
Okay. Is Steve a real person?
I think Steve's
Have
a real
we
person.
verified
well,
that?
I've kind of looked up his name and
Okay.
the email, and he'd be going to a lot of effort if this were indeed not a real. I mean, it's definitely a real human. Somebody pecked this out at the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Okay.
I don't think it's artificial intelligence.
Okay, good.
By the way, I was watching a video yesterday, and I totally was able to figure out that it was done by AI.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. See, my wife says this all the time because she deals with this stuff in her field. She says that the AI is still relatively dumb, and AI doesn't know how to catch a lot of mistakes it will make.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching a video updating the public on where the top 10 predators caught by Chris Hansen are now. And they were like, it was messing up little things that I could clearly, like, it would get a name wrong,
Yeah.
or the words wouldn't match the guy's name or whatever. And I thought, okay, that's clearly AI. So artificial intelligence.
You're still smarter
well,
than AI. Good for you.
I don't know for how much longer.
I
but
saw that people are starting to name their chat GPT or whatever. They use it so often
Thank you, Carl.
that they're asking it to name themselves.
Every day, I forget my phone charger, and then I ask Carl if I can borrow his phone charger. Carl's bringing it in, and he never says no.
I know. He's so nice to you.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of these days.
You should
he'll-
try it sometime.
I'm nice to you.
You can always count on Carl.
Mostly.
Anyway, all right. So they're naming like the way you name your Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Except they're asking the AI to name itself.
Oh, that's scary.
Right. And it does.
Oh,
They just put in a prompt.
yeah.
Hey, instead of me, calling you Chat GPT or not giving you a name at all,
Yeah.
what would you like to be called?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ride this train here until that's done.
Mhm.
I mean, I did talk to both of our bosses. Now, for those of you who know, we've long said they told us when Urban One took over, they let people go on Thursdays.
Right.
So we're always real careful on Thursdays to get out the door before
Today
anybody
the day?
sees it. But I've talked to both of our bosses so far today, and no one gave any inkling that.
They didn't say anything like, do you have a box laying around?
Have you ever poker faced firing someone? Did you talk to them the day you knew you were going to get rid of them, but needed them to get through the shift?
No.
you would. No, you never poker face fired someone.
And I think most people know they're on the bubble.
Really?
Yeah, they know when it's coming.
I mean, our ratings are really good.
It would be weird if they were like,
I mean, I am a giant pain in the backside, but
Hey, thanks, but still not worth it.
We do. I mean, we saw those ratings yesterday. We do really produce. But yes, I'm a colossal pain in the you-know-what. Okay, here's this letter from Steve. I thought this kind of summed up the way people are feeling right now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I don't need music or anything behind it. I'll read it. Rob, keep pounding the corrupt local politicians and spineless rhinos as you're one of the few people publicly doing so. Thank you. The politicians don't care about we the people, can't control spending, and have zero credibility in terms of effective leadership or results for represented taxpayers. The streets are a pothole mess.
Yep.
Crime is still way too high. Thousands of kids graduating high school with no skill sets, inspiration, or purpose, yet we continue to build campus-style high schools with bloated budgets and endless rising property tax assessments and additional tax burden on hard-working and senior Hoosier households. The mayor of Indianapolis is a train wreck individual that acts as a mobster and likely needs to go to rehab and get clean. These idiots are selfish, and we get what we deserve when we vote for them.
Okay.
So this comes back to the question I asked last segment, which is, I've been actively engaged in this. I've been a voter for 20-plus years. I've been actively engaged in government and politics for 15 years. And I am at a loss on what the vetting process needs to be because...
You thought you knew.
Well, I mean, I don't... It just seems like every single one of these people don't follow through, for the most part, on what they've promised they want to do or what they say they're going to do. And before the people are like, well, rainwater or the libertarians... No, stop. Part of this means you got to be a viable person. You got to be a viable candidate. You got to be able to organize, right? It's easy to just go, well, that guy, what did that guy do to make himself viable? I'm talking about people who can go out and get votes and raise money and put signs, like people who could actually have a chance to win. Because how many times did we do the libertarian experiment where, hey, where you can hear WIBC, the libertarians do great. Oh, where you can't hear us, they get 3% in the rest of the state.
Right. We can't do it for them.
Should I just do that every election?
No.
Exactly, right? I mean, that's just a fool's errand, and it gets you absolutely nowhere. So what is the vetting process? Because this guy is right. Everything he's saying is correct. But I am at a loss on how to figure out if someone is genuine or not in what they're espousing they want to do.
Next time you need to ask for some references and then go back and interview those people.
Yeah. Can interview those people. This seems like a really involved process just to figure out who to vote for.
It does. It does. So members of the General Assembly, they announced the agenda for the study committees yesterday. Did you see anything on there that you liked?
Well, what's interesting, we had Nikki Kelly on, and she said she didn't use these exact words, but she basically said, no way they're doing anything with property taxes or local government.
Right. Because they're burnt out from that. They spent so much time in the last session. They need a little break from that.
So
you don't get a break from your bill, but they need a break from talking about it.
So for those well-meaning people who went to Braun's house, and he told him he's got this ace up his sleeve, and he's got all these. And for people like
the
people like Lieutenant Governor who say, "Oh, it's a 4-year plan," and then they can't tell you what step 2 of the plan is, who have basically become the underwear gnomes at this point.
Did he tell you what you wanted to hear?
Somebody who's covered this for 25 years is telling you they're not planning anything. Like, do you know if you were planning actual meaningful reform to local government, which you're going to have to do in anything in terms of reforming the property tax system, the amount of time you would have to dedicate and the publicity tour you'd have to go on and the amount of meetings you would have to have and all of that stuff, you would know a year in advance that that's coming with the amount of work you'd have to do. They haven't said a word about it. There is no plan. There's no plan. There's nothing. Now, like, what are they? And it's the short session anyway. What are they saying they're going to do, Case?
They're going to talk about medical debt. Being a major burden for Hoosiers.
You mean on the policies they create that allow the medical providers to charge what they charge?
They're exploring solutions to reduce or prevent the impact of medical debt.
Again, you mean so they make the laws in this state about medical providers'
Yeah, they're talking about putting caps on it and limits on collections.
Sure.
New rules for the medical billing practices.
How many? It seems like every session we're doing something with medical costs.
Well, it is a big issue. I mean, we talked about what RFK Jr. came out and he said that he was going to get rid of the insurance pre-approval process.
Yeah.
How he's going to do that.
This may be a stupid question, but I'll ask it.
But it is a real problem.
We think out loud here. Other than protection of special interest, why is this actually that hard of an issue? I mean, I get that medicine is complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way insurance works, the way medical billing works, like all of this stuff is centered around people making profit. Everything at the core of this, look at the people that lobby, right? I mean, there are some consumer advocates who lobby on behalf of people, and you saw it this year. But by and large, they are dwarfed by these highly paid lobbyists who come in there representing for-profit entities whose goal is to make as much money as they possibly can. It's true at the state level. It's true at the federal level. That's the goal. These people are in the profit-based system. And when that is the goal...
That's the problem right there. You've got businesses that are in business to make money, and they're the ones who are making medical decisions.
And here's the other part of this problem. My wife's mother is a nurse, a longtime nurse, very distinguished in her profession, very well thought of at a well-known Indianapolis medical institution. And she tells me all the time the amount of customers, clients, whatever, that are illegal immigrants. Like, they know when they walk in. And they said the hospital, not her, but the hospital
prioritizes them
because
they'll get federal money.
And it ends. And all the testing and everything else because there's nobody to fight. The insurance company fights against the medical provider doing so because they don't pay for it. But the federal government, there's nobody fighting. We have prioritized the amount of people in this country illegally getting free health care. I hear it all the time. And I don't know if that's a state problem, federal problem, probably a little of both. Until you fix that, you're not going to fix medical costs. There's too many people getting a free ride.
You're listening to Kendall and Casey. It is 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel show, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Nobody has more fun than we do. And we've got Rob Kendall off the rails. 93 WIBC.
Home sales activity is good, not great. So many homes, if improperly marketed, are sitting on the market. Hiring the wrong sales agent will cost you time and money. Hire the expert who maximizes equity and sells fast. The expert realtor I recommend is Mark Dietl. Perhaps you're worried with the challenging market you won't sell your home for the price it's worth. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what John in Greencastle had to say about working with Mark Dietl. I just bought a home in Greencastle. Shortly after, my son moved to the Fishers area, which left me an hour away from family and 45 minutes from work. A big mistake, and I felt stuck since I had been in the home less than a year. I asked the Mark Dietl team for help, and they delivered big. My home sold in 14 days for the price I needed so I could move closer to family and work. Call the local Indianapolis agent I trust and recommend, and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietl at 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
you. Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text SAVVY to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text SAVVY to 42424. That's SAVVY to 42424.
Hey guys, it's Rob for Life Church. If you're looking for a new church home or even a first church home, check out the place we call home, Life Church. They make it easy for you. Campuses in Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, all over central Indiana. And they've got great online services too. So if you're saying, hey, I'm just looking for something different, you got nothing to lose, you got everything to gain. They're warm, they're welcoming. They'd love the opportunity to meet and welcome you and your family. Learn more about everything, including those great online services, on the web, lifechurchin.com.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in Indiana because energy tax credits put America first, bringing manufacturing jobs home and creating a stronger middle class.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. Senator Young, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits. Paid for by Built for America.
Create a glowing backyard retreat with Indy Decorative Concrete. Get a free outdoor lighting package with the purchase of our best stamped concrete patio. Hurry, offer ends June 30th. Go to indydecorativeconcrete.com.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
Addiction doesn't just affect one person, it touches everyone around them. That's why Matt Baer and Ryan Hedrick created the Supporting Sobriety podcast. It's for the friends and family standing behind, offering hope, guidance, and real talk. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, some folks say they're gonna hang him so high, 'cause you just can't do what he did. There's some things you just can't put in the minds of those
Casey,
kids.
I'd like to have a bit of an impromptu conversation with you to end the program today.
Always makes me nervous when you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's on your mind? It's time for therapy with Rob. What's on your mind today, Rob?
Well, look, I think the thread of today's show, and it's kind of interesting, we always chuckle. You do all this hard work on the template, and then
we just go right off the road.
I just walk in here and I'm like, no, I got this great idea. Let's just do this. So you basically do all this work every single day for no reason.
Yeah.
But
it's fantastic work, by the way.
And
I should be highly paid for it.
You know, we got yesterday the opportunity, as we often do, to see our individual show ratings. We had posted last week that the station itself was #1, which is basically unheard of for talk radio stations in America, in markets of this size. But we see our individual show numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And they told us, our bosses told us yesterday, we cannot remember when numbers in our time slot was this good.
Yeah.
Which means, and look,
They have to go back a ways.
WIBC is the greatest radio station that has ever existed in the history of the state. It is the sort of the thread that pulls generations together. You can trace people's lives based on the people that were on this radio station,
Mm-hmm.
events we were covering. I've said this. I think there is no more powerful and no more important media outlet in the history of Indiana than WIBC radio.
Right.
And to be able to say, for people like our bosses who have been around for a very long time, in our time here, we cannot remember when numbers were this good. That puts us in a very special category of people along the lines of, quote unquote, the heyday of this radio station and the influence that it had and what it meant to people. And I say all of that because we are nothing without you, the listener. I know we say this a lot, and it sounds like hyperbole or grandstanding or whatever. It's not. We are just simply a reflection of you.
if you didn't tune in, that wouldn't exist and we wouldn't exist.
You know, and if you look at it that way, if what we're saying is just parroting or being the voice for our listeners, there's a lot of upset people out there.
Well, it is, and that's the thing. But we are, and we talked about this yesterday in our show meeting. Every one of our shows is different.
You mean on WIBC?
On WIBC, right?
Yeah.
We all take a different approach to the thing, and the approach that we have taken is essentially direct combat with these politicians. And I can't speak to the other shows. I don't see inside their numbers. I don't, get to see the things we get to see with ours. But what is very clear is that people of all ages and sex, etc., they're sick of the crap.
Yeah.
They're just completely sick of the crap, and they're looking for anyone, whether they have power or not, who has some sort of platform, who is willing to raise their hand and stand up and say, I will go fight for you.
Right.
And that's what we do every day.
Well, they're hearing people say the things that they're thinking.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially when it comes to our local and state politics. Everybody likes to talk about Donald Trump or Democrats on a national level. And as we've talked many times, the things that really affect your life are what happened locally and within the state house. And we've kind of taken the approach that that's going to be our wheelhouse. And we say the things that people think every day.
And today's show, the thread of the show is a reason why people tune in every day. If you're a politician and you hear this, you are the reason people tune in. If you guys were better.
Because of their disdain for you.
It is, right? If you were better, we would not exist. It is, no doubt. And you're very well liked, Casey, because you're very likable. But there's no doubt I'm the most hated man in the Indiana State House. There's no doubt about it whatsoever.
Well, it's a what's he going to say next sort of thing from them. Because they're also nervous.
But what these people don't realize is if you just cleaned your act up, if you were
we'd
better,
have nothing to say.
We would have nothing to say.
Yeah.
You're right, 100%. Think about the things that we talked about today. Today's show is just a perfect example of this. You have a city county councilor who does the right thing and says Joe Hawks, it's a dumpster fire and needs to go. And the people who have enabled him, the leadership of this council should step down.
Right.
And then what happens? She gets, I don't know whether it's bullied, intimidated, strong-armed, whatever word you want to use, to the point where she retracts the statement, and then in some Soviet Union Politburo type of bullcrap,
she's welcome back in.
Yeah, or she was never kicked out to begin. You can't even get a clear answer whether she was
right. They can't even keep the story straight.
Then you've got on the other side the Republican Michael Paul Hart, who got super lippy with us. By the way, he instigated it. We didn't send him the first email.
Right.
We have mentioned him, but we didn't start anything with him. He starts this feud with us and then says, okay, I'll see you July 2nd. And then today is running to Tony's show, and all he's basically saying is nothing. To the point, the interview was so bad, and he was so ridiculous that I think for the first time, I was trying to think if I've ever done this. For the first time in 20-plus years in this business, I canceled an interview.
Yeah.
I said I will not subject my audience to that twice, no matter how much fun it might be to scream at you and tell you how worthless you are and how you are screwing this entire city. I would not subject my audience to that. That's your city leadership on the Republican and Democrat side.
Yeah, well, I mean, on one side, you've got somebody who stood up and tried to say something, completely got punished for it. On the other side, you've got a guy who's saying absolutely nothing and getting rewarded for it.
Then let's talk about at the state level. You've got people like Todd Rokita, who because of his own indulgence, because of his own lack of self-control, because of his own inability to put the people and the position he's in ahead of himself in his own fight for glory or glamour, has cost the taxpayers
nearly $500,000. His ego cost the taxpayers of this state nearly $500,000.
Then you've got Bobblehead Beckwith jumping out of an airplane.
Right. What does that do for the taxpayer? Is he now working in military recruitment? Is he in charge of tourism? Wait a minute. That didn't take place in Indiana. He did that in Kentucky.
So people are looking around, and the people that they're counting on to be fighters for them are elected officials who are supposed to be your voice in a position of power, are not only doing nothing, they're essentially now just flaunting it and throwing it in people's faces about their unwillingness to act on your behalf. Like the biggest backstabber of them all is Micah. Because he's the guy who the whole premise of him existing.
I will fight for you. I will use the bully pulpit. I will be the voice of the people. I will hold them accountable.
And look at So this is why I just wanted to close the show today by, first of all, thanking you, our audience, for being engaged. Your engagement is not unnoticed. But to the politicians, you are the reason.
We're number one.
We're number one. We make gobs and gobs of money off of you.
Do we?
Well, for the little, effort. I mean, Case will tell you, there is no effort in this show from me because it all just comes naturally. Casey does these complex, very great templates, and I just sit down like, what are we doing? No, we're not doing that. Here, just stay with me.
I got in a fight with somebody.
Just
fun.
follow me. This is in my DNA. I was thinking about this driving into work today as I was listening to that interview with Michael Paul Hart and Tony, holding both hands very firmly on the wheel, that in order to fix the system, to fight the system, you got to have it in your DNA to hate these people and what they do. And none of these people have it in their DNA. They're bull crappers. Rokita's a bull crapper.
Well, he makes it really easy. $500,000, $500,000, because
couldn't keep his yapper shut.
Couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Couldn't stay off television.
Right.
And all of these people talk the game. But in their DNA to fight for you, in their DNA to put you ahead of them at all times, that isn't them. That's not who they are at their core. At the core, they're just rotten, self-serving politicians. And people say the one group that has it in their DNA to fight for you is us. And that's why we're number one. That's why.
Yeah.
All right, we can go home now.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for listening. It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC. We'll catch you back here tomorrow.
When people think sleep apnea, they think CPAP. Now at Advent, we do all we can to help sleep apnea sufferers avoid the CPAP machine. And most sleep apnea sufferers who come to Advent are going to be able to avoid a CPAP altogether. Our unique Advent approach using simple in-office solutions can get your nose working and throat open all under one roof. You see, the root of every snoring and obstructive sleep apnea problem lies within the throat, nose, or both. At Advent, we know when we get the nose and throat working properly, most snoring and sleep apnea problems will subside. And we have the most simple and convenient, ultra-effective in-office solutions that can do just that. And this is why people have traveled by planes, trains, and automobiles from corners of the world you would never think of to find the sleep apnea and snoring relief you won't find elsewhere.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
Trust employee owned. B Windows extending our employee discount to you. Up to 55% off, plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. Trust your home to B.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
On the level, on the go. 93 WIBC Indianapolis.
Coming up,
Joe Hogsett has made it clear he is not resigning.
Indiana taxpayers have footed over $491,000.
I will be at the state convention.
Help me.
This is the WIBC News at noon.
Anger and arguments in Indianapolis government.
And we're still under heat advisory. Storms are possible this afternoon, 91 downtown. I'm Ryan Hedry.
And I'm John Herrick. Here's what's trending at 12 noon. Indianapolis Republican City County Councilor Michael Paul Hart says he knows his party can't make Mayor Joe Hogsett step down, despite the fact that the mayor's former top aide was involved in multiple sexual harassment cases with former staff members.
Joe Hogsett has made it clear he is not resigning. He's out doing fundraisers. He is out dancing at Juneteenth parties, marching in parades. And even if all 25 counselors say they want him to resign, he's not going anywhere.
Counselor Krista Carlino has stepped down from several committee roles after calling for Hogsett's resignation, but city leaders say she's still part of the Democratic caucus.
At the state level, there's a legal battle with your cash. Here's Johnette Cruz.
Indiana taxpayers have footed over $491,000 in legal fees to defend Attorney General Todd Rokita against multiple ethics investigations. This comes as Rokita faces ongoing scrutiny, including a reprimand and fine fine for comments made in 2022 about an OB/GYN. While Rokita claims the cases are politically motivated, critics question why public funds are used for what they consider his personal legal battles. The hefty sum paid to 4 different law firms has fueled a debate over accountability and the use of state resources. Johnette Cruz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The current state comptroller of Indiana is campaigning to stay in that position. Jarrett Lewis with that story.
Elise Nashala began serving as Indiana State Comptroller in 2023. Her current term ends the first day of 2027, so she's announcing the launch of her campaign to seek her first full term.
A year from this month, I will be at the state convention, and I ask for the votes of